It's a new day, but many of the same types of catalysts are going to be on watch this morning. S&P 500 right now gapping up ever so slightly. If you take a look at the NASDAQ, same look. USO, though, actually gapping down. President Trump indicating once again that there could be only a couple days now until the conflict between the U.S. and Iran comes to an end, though Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, seems to have slightly different thoughts on that. So once again, guys, long story short, this Middle East situation will remain in focus. Also remaining in focus here, lots of big tech plays. Intel having that catalyst yesterday with Google, and Nvidia, as reported by The Information, they're poised to open higher yet again today. Apple, yesterday's WWDC keynote on watch with some analysts weighing in. More Nvidia in focus as well. So there's lots to talk about in that tech space, and IPOs too. I mean, we know we have SpaceX on Friday, but OpenAI could be entering the fray as well. So lots to discuss this morning. Good morning, Sharif.
Good morning, Adara. Thank you very much. Likewise to you. Very interesting report yesterday from OpenAI, basically taking to the social media and saying, look, we know our S1 is going to leak, so we're just going to release it anyway. So we'll see exactly how this whole thing goes. But obviously, Anthropic overtaking them in the private markets with respect to valuation, probably not too happy about that. Apple trading below $300 here, as it feels like it was by the rumor sell the news event. I just installed the new iOS 27 this morning. See, she's already tripping out. And so we're going to be looking through that. We'll report to you guys on the midday, but lots to talk about here. Also, a lot of Chinese firms getting possible designations here with respect to their dealings with the Chinese military. They're not really trading down. As you mentioned, Dara, Intel in focus as well. It has a tie-up with Cadence and Applied Digital here. Geez Louise, up 10 3/4 to start the morning. Micron almost up 5% with an upgrade as well.
It's interesting, you had a little bit of a move down when this Pentagon designation was initially announced on the likes of Alibaba and Baidu, but nothing too major. I want to do some housekeeping as well before we send you over to Sean and Neil. We've got at 8:30 a.m. U.S. trade balance coming through. At 10 a.m. we're going to get existing home sales and wholesale inventory. So some economic data, nothing massive. Tomorrow and Thursday with CPI and PPI respectively, those are going to be the bigger days of economic data. But it's always a big day when we get to be here at this desk. Good morning to both Sean and Neil. How are you two doing today? Welcome back, Neil.
Thank you. Well, good to be back. Absolutely. It was a longer weekend, PA day for my daughter, which means
Friday.
They were all at school on Monday. It was yesterday.
Monday was PA day.
Who else had PA day?
We had it on Friday. Yeah.
Most schools had it on Friday, but it was a good weekend. Spurs are back into this bad boy. We'll see if they're able to.
Every day a PA day, Randy.
Randy, every day is a holiday.
I feel like every day is a holiday for Randy.
Every day's a holiday
there. He's always just chilling out, relaxing.
I come back, there's like a random hard-boiled egg just sitting at the desk. I guess Joe didn't want to eat.
Probably Joe.
The hard-boiled eggs must not have been very good.
Oh man, you missed. Unfortunately, you missed the lunch yesterday. No. Oh, Dara, I still never got that email. By the way, Dara. It was burgers, and they were fantastic. It was
never do burgers.
Even Joe was giving a high rating over there for burgers. It was we've never even had burgers before. He and I got really, really excited about it, and they did not disappoint, man. All the toppings.
Oh, I can only imagine.
So if you could be here less, we would maybe have some more luck. We had tacos
one time.
And then we had burgers yesterday. But yeah, coming into the same kind of thing on this market here today, up another 1% today. So, you know, up a bit yesterday, up another 1.5 yesterday, up another 1 today. We're slowly clawing back to that loss that we had on Friday, just slowly getting back into the stray here, and trying to get back to all-time highs again. We'll see. You know, I think a lot of the market still has to come out here as we await, again, another huge IPO coming on Friday, and then more talks, of course, the largest of all time, and then more talks coming with Anthropic probably and OpenAI in the September area. We'll see what winds up happening with those names coming through, but here's the cues. Nice battle back after that nasty day. We had a 3-day dip down, and now we're starting to get right back into the swing of things here. AAPL, yeah, not a. I mean, these things seem to be easy. You know, when you think about, it's always buy the rumor, sell the news. It's always like that on all of these kind of events every time. Doesn't matter if it's Google, if it's Meta, if it's Amazon. Anybody that has something like this seems to be heading to the downside. You know, unless it's a conference like what we've seen with Nvidia, and you have, select speakers coming through. But when it's just your company on watch, there's always more expectation than there seems to be deliverables. So we'll wait to see what winds up happening today with Apple, downside, down 1%. I mean, it's not a ho-hum thing. It's only breaking through 300. So I think that's maybe why it's more interesting. Like down 0.6 is not going to worry any of us. And then yesterday we had, you know, Eli Lilly get back to all-time highs or make all-time highs again with 1180 as the print. So we'll see today if this can also try to hold up. Deal make new vent or something like that. There was a new GSK there bought some, I don't even know if it's in ours. Watch the new Valent, yeah, another buyout there in the space. JM Smucker going to the upside as well. Gold I saw today was starting to head a little bit higher earlier as well. So we'll have to wait to see where this all settles out. Only 0.36, so nothing. It's the market that's leading the way here today. Stocks like Nvidia, well, I mean, we're gonna find some opportunities. Right now I have written down long the Qs, and I want to be long on Intel because yesterday we got another good story there early. And we traded this real well early yesterday, like right about 9 o'clock-ish or so. I think we went long on Intel yesterday in the pre-market as we got, yeah, there it was, as we got some news there about them being added as sort of a backup fab, or we'll be getting some business there from Apple and from Google. So that was a good move there. We had that. And I think we left it alone, but right now we're gonna watch again. Watch out for 110 area. So that's what we've written down here for Intel. So that's all that I've got on right there so far. And yeah, we'll be looking for some breaks higher today, I think. You know, I just saw someone in the chat. What's up to everybody in the chat, by the way? I hope you guys are having a great day so far. And hope you have a great trading day. Yeah, 210 for Nvidia might be something. But yeah, we're pretty happy. And yeah, it won't be burgers again, but it was good. We upgraded the lunch yesterday from a neutral to a strong buy.
Always get unlucky with that, but hey, everyone else is good fortune. If I miss out, then fair enough. But we're not going to miss out on opportunities today. You mentioned, actually, as Sharif was mentioning, Applied Digital. This one seems a little bit poised, up 11 points today. Realistically, there's been so many runners, but not too many names are above Friday's. Like lots of big bounces, like Tesla had a big bounce yesterday, but not really above Friday's levels. That kind of gives you something to pull back into. And when it comes to Apple, when you're the best Mag 7 on the year, whatever. Like it was a slow and boring move to the upside for it to get this strong. I think like a slow and boring pullback to like the 50-period moving average, pull back into this prior high, like right up here at 290. You get there, and then we resume regularly scheduled programming, I think, for Apple. So I think everything will be just fine for them. It always seems to be the same story. And then the overreaction to the sell the news on Apple, and you know that's usually a very good dip to be bought. Whether or not it gets all the way down to that 50 period today, I don't know. That could end up being a tomorrow thing at that 290. I will probably like it for continuation until it gets there. But yeah, Apple's going to be absolutely fine. They've rolled out the features, they've got the partnerships. It's what everyone wanted to see, and they're happy. And Sharif's downloaded, so you know it's got to be good, right, Sharif?
Find out, Neil. I did it this morning. I actually set it up to do last night, but I didn't plug in my phone until later in the night, so it didn't end up updating. But we got an hour here when we do the morning note, so it's ready to go. We're gonna see if it's glitchy. We're gonna see if it's any good. I'm gonna try to use it in a contextual sense, right? Because that's what they were trying to sell you yesterday. It's aware of the situation, what screen, what you're looking at on the screen. So better be good, Neil, because you know, I've been waiting 2 years for this, Adair.
Yeah, we'll find out about that update. We're going to talk Intel in a second, but first I want to thank our friends at FEED and View Medical. Here's a medical technology company to keep an eye on. View Medical, ticker FEED or FEED. Enview has developed what it describes as a GPS-style guidance system for feeding tube placement in hospitals, helping clinicians improve accuracy and patient safety. This week, the company highlighted an independent peer-reviewed study that found significant safety improvements, reduced complications, and meaningful cost savings across a 5-hospital system. With this technology now being used in 40 hospitals, FEED is definitely a company worth keeping on your radar. Also on our radars is Sean, and I believe Neil just mentioned here, Intel, INTC. This had a report yesterday from The Information, a little bit before the bell, where not one, but 2 Mag 7 companies were mentioned, both Google and Nvidia. Good look for INTC yesterday. Looks like they want to continue today.
It is, Adira, but this cadence tie-up has more to do with Apple than it does with Google and Nvidia. And the reason is because it's focusing specifically on the 14A node. And 14A only has one customer, potential customer, hasn't even happened yet, and that's Apple, right? We know that that tie-up came in a few months ago. So let's talk a little bit about this. So first and foremost, let's not overlook the fact that Lip-Bu Tan used to be at the helm of Cadence, right? So the fact that he's funneling a lot of money into the company he used to lead should, you should take note of that. But this 14A node, this expansion into this part of chip making is an operational necessity for Intel, because we know their 14A process has been highly experimental. It's essentially 1.4 nanometers, and it puts it almost at parity with Taiwan Semi's 2 nanometer. Now we know Taiwan Semi's already moved on to 1, but that's still in an experimental sense. So what they're doing here is they're actually taking away the tool-making component at Intel's foundry, and they're sending that to Cadence. And Cadence is using agentically designed robotics, essentially, to make these sort of very, very small imprints on the wafer. But there's also some insider selling into this announcement with Cadence. You had a lot of insider selling. Top guys at Cadence sold about $67.5 million worth of shares, leading directly into the announcement. And again, the fundamental driver of this software integration is a desperate bid kind of to appease a massive new client, that is Apple. Following the agreement that Intel is going to manufacture custom chips for Apple, specifically the A processors, not yet the M. They got to make sure that their foundry tools are compatible with Apple software hardware teams and the software that they actually use. So we'll see how Intel trades today, Dara.
Yeah, and of course, again, we do know INTC with the information report yesterday. For those who missed it, basically, you had the information reporting that Google has already placed an order for 3 million TPUs from Intel for 2028. Nvidia also considering Intel. So INTC, lots of tie-ups. Are you guys looking at this name today?
Yes.
I mean, it's the number one name on my list.
Obviously.
So,
well, I mean, obviously, you've got this news and you've got Apple. Like, those are the two kind of big stories, big tech. So yeah, I'm obviously going to be looking at Intel today. When you look at it, and just from a pure price standpoint, like it put in basically a double top on the last couple of days, and you throw in the fact that this has been what everybody is waiting for the longest time. And you can make all the arguments about price then, and I would tend to get that. Getting new clientele and finally getting some fundamental revenue coming down the pipe is gonna make this move look a little bit better. That said, it doesn't mean the momentum can't be there. Like, I would be the first to tell you a lot of this move was on hype, and then the CPU is helping certainly. But this is, at this point, you're poised for a potential break. Like, it's been, languishing's not the right word, but we've been in a little bit of a drawback. Like, since it made the highs in 135, it's put in some pretty clean lower highs. Now, I think you've still got some room till you get to some resistance on that trend line. Like, you can break 114 and get into this 118.20. But once this closes above there, high teens in the 20s, you've then broken this little down wedge, and we can resume to the upside. So the channel's intact. Room to the top today. So I like this 114. It can break. I like one afternoon support. Well, it's not really afternoon support. It was morning range support there. Just chills out at 107, which is an obvious level to look for a bit of a dip by. So I think this one's got some room. Once it gets to 120, though, you are running into the top of that channel. And on the daily, closes above that, and that flag gets broken, and we can get like a nice little parabolic move. We've seen so many other chip names have their moment with their pullback, the consolidation, and then go. Intel hasn't really done that second go yet.
Yeah, I was looking to see, we didn't post up yesterday's trade there at Intel, but yeah, it's gonna be the number one idea here today. Look, pulling back into 110 if that ever happens. I'm still pretty negative on the market, just because I think there's gonna be a lot of supply that has to come out in order to pay for SpaceX. But yeah, so if Intel does make a move, similar to what it did yesterday, right? We had this long there yesterday. We have the 110 break yesterday, up into 112, 113. So we're ringing in $2 or $3 club early yesterday. And then look at this fall down. It went from 113 back into 107. So that's down $5-6 right there. So I'm just hoping that we do get something. We have ADP employment change today. There is an opportunity for, the market to have a little bit of a move. I just want to find out. 8:30's trade balance. Sorry, it's home sales today at 10. So that probably doesn't, make this move happen. But, you know, that's where VWAP was yesterday. That's where we closed. We're going to be looking at 110 there for Intel. And yeah, it's been a good one. Like was able to sell something of, you know, some of this stock in the 120s. I think we'll get another opportunity to maybe do some more of that today on Intel, if we even want to. You know, we could, depending on what this day does. You know, it's already up 2.5%. Could we add $2 or $3 to this level? Probably. And then you're getting closer to a level of hopefully, I mean, not hopefully, I mean, we all want the stock to go up, but there might be a supply zone up here where it can't really get going unless there's some sort of another story coming through, but that's a big move up. Remember where Intel came from, and it was 125 down to 95. I mean, it had quite the retracement rate there, and a pretty large one too, right? I mean, that was just in a week and a half. And that includes that big, huge day, but it was down 8%. So that's including that monster day that we had there on Friday. So, you know, definitely due for a pullback is Intel. So I'm going to wait for 110. And then I really like the other side of that story, too. I mean, I think Google, we had talked about this yesterday with Joseph and myself there as Katina Wilson Capital had a great day. And he's here today looking dapper, so we'll have to check him out on the upgrades and downgrades. But right into here, 360, like that's going to be an area that looks like it's been supported decently by Google. So if we do get any drop down opportunities, that will be that here. Wow, this is a nice picture. Hold on a second here. Andre came last week to High Park. This is last night here at High Park, and they actually, High Park Little League got the Blue Jays grant, so they're going to be upgrading a whole bunch of stuff. Here's Gia Ketcher yesterday, so that was really good. So we tied 2-2. She got a double in the, I think it was the 4th or 5th inning, which tied it 2-2.
Nice.
So yeah, that was it yesterday, and there's my guy Jack throwing some strikes. Good pitcher there yesterday. But yeah, nice opportunity there. That's the best part about the summer is getting outdoors, of course, and doing all that. So we have a practice again tonight, but I just asked Gemini the chances of it snowing. I think it's going to be a snow.
No, we're getting thunderstorms.
Hey, snow. Yeah, thunderstorms, yeah. So not a good one there. And thankfully not snow.
If it snows, we got other problems.
Yeah, that would not be good at all if it snowed today. But I'm sure it's snowing somewhere in the world, you know. When is the United States taking over Greenland, by the way? Is that happening still?
No one's talking about Greenland anymore.
Okay. Happening, or when we're becoming the 51st state, I guess. When's that happening as well? That all kind of stopped. And yeah, Trump came out yesterday and said
it was Cuba. It was supposed to be Cuba next.
Cuba, yeah. I don't think he's President Trump will be gone in just a matter of time now. But the idea here is that Iran, that war apparently now, moments away. He said over the next, looks at watch said this 2 months ago. But it was saying that hopefully in the next week or so, they can declare outright victory there in Iran. So we'll see what winds up happening tomorrow, today with oil. Oil now down 1.49%. So that could be a trade for sure. But yeah, that's what we're doing here today. 62,000 on Bitcoin. That's a nice little bounce back from that 59 or so print that we did see on Friday. Yeah.
Down a point today, though.
By the way, Adara. Hi, how are you doing today, by the way?
I'm okay. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm here and I'm excited to be.
A little under the weather?
Oh
no, stay away.
Okay.
What's under the weather too is Redwire.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, RDW right now. People in the chat talking about potentially a offering here for RDW. And there, when we're talking about space names, we're talking about what's been happening. You know, the warning shot was fired last week, or it was last week about, this potential move happening.
Confirmed $500 million equity offering program. This is as of 2 minutes ago, is this article I'm seeing on X about 6 minutes ago. So this would have been after 8 a.m. this was announced.
Yeah, so it looks like it's been happening just for a couple minutes there. So just wanted to get Adara's there because, yeah, that's confirmed now. There it goes to the downside. So watch out for Redwire. No better time to raise capital than when your stock has been way overappreciated, right? And so Rocket Lab, ASTS Mobile, all these names will be going the way of lower here as everybody will put their money. The thing about SpaceX is it's much more than a space company. It's not even, it's all this whole Grok AI, it's the whole XAI. It's the idea of all of that coming in together. It's a monster AI conglomerate. These other names are just space names, right? And I don't know enough about Rocket Lab to make that comment, but I know it's not XAI. And I think that's part of what you're paying for. When you buy Tesla and you buy SpaceX right now is going to be what you're paying for in the future. These names are more pure plays. And I think we like SpaceX for the other reasons. I mean, Sharif mentioned yesterday $1,000 kilogram, right? Sharif is what it's costing to get this thing up in the air. And apparently no profits even coming close until that gets down to $100 per kilogram up in the air. So we have a lot of, and they lost $6 billion last year. So, I mean, it's not necessarily you're investing in the current, you're investing in the future, right? So,
it's a tough business. I mean, a
little bit of a tough
Blue
business,
Origin just had a huge setback. Like they lost a launch pad for a couple of years. Oh yeah. With that explosion. Well, that's the thing. Usually when you lose a rocket, obviously it sucks. But when the launch pad goes up, like it takes multiple, like you've got to rebuild the launch pad. Those things, now they're saying 29. I thought it was 28. Now they're saying 2029 for Blue Origin. Like that's
to raise more money.
Hefty setback. And hey, they're called the capital markets for a reason, because at the end of the day, no one can ever get mad when a company decides they have to raise capital. The question becomes, when are they raising too much? When can the markets not handle all the capital that needs to get raised? And you can keep tapping, tap, but does the well run dry? And I don't think it's not gonna run dry. It's just a matter of finding out how much they're willing to weather the storm before we get an actual market pullback or correction. And I think that's where everyone's heads are at. I don't think anyone would be surprised by Redwire here. There's certainly nobody surprised that the anticipation of weakness and now OpenAI is coming out. And that's just more money that needs to get tapped. And we'll see. And some companies are going to be better off than others. How much cash you have, holding up your margins. That's going to be very important. If you're first in line to be able to tap the markets and people buying your bonds up like you're an Alphabet, great. But if you're not, I look at pretty much most of the Russell, and that could end up being a problem. And we'll see how the Russell does over the next little bit here. It's done fantastically this year, but it's off the highs, and I wouldn't wonder if this is where some of the trouble could be in the back half of the year and some of the small caps as things tighten up a little bit.
We mentioned the Russell yesterday as it was still up nicely, but yeah, pulling back. And again, the rate cut in situation is bad, right? I mean, we're now looking at, it was more than a 50-50. It was about 40-something% yesterday that we had it back in December. So here we go with a couple days left before the next rate. We have 8 days to go. So we're not getting a cut there. The next one in July, we're not getting a cut. It's back or forth. Maybe we get a raise. There's a 12% chance for a raise in July, and then it starts to get a little more spicy. 1/3 by the time we get to September. Let's fast forward all the way to December right now, and this is where it gets even more interesting. Potentially 20%, and that's as of right now. We'll get some more data, obviously, between now and December, but 21%. It's gonna be really interesting, this next one coming up with Kevin Warsh, see where they talk about, see if they mention, where the puck is going here instead of where it's at, because we already know all the current numbers. Let's get an idea of where the general consensus is here on the Fed, how many dissent, so on and so forth, because that's kind of interesting that there's still a chance for a rate cut. Obviously, when you're at 2%, that is virtually none. There, but okay, it's upgrades, downgrades, options. I believe we're going with options right now, as I can see in the very back. This is the kind of the cool thing now. I don't even have to guess. I just look back there and I see the word calls. So, unless it's, one of our parents or something calling us right now, we don't take phone calls while we're on the air.
Never.
The calls that we take are options related. So let's go back over to the big screen there with Joseph.
Unless your barber is calling, correct, right, Shane? The barber is calling you. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the options activity from yesterday. WWDC, Apple taking a little bit of a slide. So let's take a look at some of the activity on this specific underlying asset, guys. At that $310 strike price, we're gonna be looking at the open interest here, guys. That's gonna be sitting around 44,500. I think that's about average there for Apple, especially when you are going a couple weeks out. Volume around 11,100. But what I do believe here is that within this bid in the ask spread, there's always going to be liquidity within this specific underlying $3 spread, nothing substantial. And considering slightly OTM, and the delta on Apple's underlying is always relatively cooler especially slightly out of the money than your average underlying. So your delta sitting around that $10 metric, and then you have very little gamma exposure, about $1.30 there, guys. At the money IV, surprisingly low, 27.9%. But if we want to take a look at the contract itself here, guys, you can see that we were once worth about $5.50, and then we take a dive all the way to where we're currently sitting at the bid, $76. So that specific contract losing the majority of its value on yesterday's session, all right? Moving forward, let's take a look at TSLA, one of the stronger higher capitalization names on yesterday's session. We're going to be taking a look at this $420 strike price. Now, as for the open interest, guys, 16,100 contracts still currently open at that level, with 4,720 opened and closed on yesterday's session. Now, we're sitting on a $15 spread, nothing crazy, and the delta sitting around that $33 metric. Keep an eye out for these specific levels, the 420 and the 310 on AAPL. Now, as for our gamma exposure, relatively light, and our at-the-money IV sitting around 51.2%. Now, moving forward, what I do want us to take a look at, and this is where the power of options comes in. We talk about this quite often, is that the real appreciation, we have Travman for real in the chat, and other individuals who are always looking for that exponential growth within this specific contract. And this is one of the examples, all right? So we get 53% on this specific contract here within Tesla, when the underlying asset only moved single digits, all right? So that's a big time move, especially if you happen to get in right around the open. Sharif and I discussing the other day, they're gonna be extending options activity hours, which I believe you're gonna be able to trade an hour before the open, and I believe an hour after the close, which is big. There's no reason why the underlying in these contracts shouldn't trade side by side, okay? So 53% in that specific $420 contract. Moving forward, let's take a look at some of the indices here. Now, the SPY, the Qs, and the Russell. I heard the gentleman talking about these names this morning. The Russell slightly underperforming, but that's okay. Rate hikes not good for small caps. Now, at this specific level, guys, $740, we're sitting around 3,000 contracts traded. That's relatively cool for SPY. Now, as for the open interest, guys, 27,800 at that $740 marker. Moving forward to the NASDAQ, guys, 17,800 contracts still open at this specific $720 strike price. And then as for the volume, we're looking around 6,610 open and closed on yesterday's session. Now, what I want you to do is after the open, I want you to go to this specific expiration cycle that is going to be on the 18th, and I want you to scroll down to see the substantial amount of put volume. And I'm talking hundreds of thousands of contracts still currently open through a concentration of a couple of strike prices, all right? Now, moving forward, we're gonna take a look at the IWM, the $285 marker, quite a ways, but what I did notice is 19,900 contracts at that specific level with volume around 5,190. So keep an eye out on some of these levels here, guys. But the NASDAQ, go and look at those triple-digit open interest levels. You can make some trades based off of those.
Some economic data coming up here, guys, in just 2 minutes. U.S. trade balance, negative $56.1 billion here is the forecast. Previous print here, negative $60.3 billion. Before we get to that, I want to talk some PLTR, a name that I know Sean likes. Palantir facing some issues here when it comes to the UK and this NHS contract.
Yeah, Dara, this is a UK-specific story, but this is not a UK-specific problem because we're seeing this in Canada as well, where a lot of sovereign data kind of shying away from putting it on servers that, belong to American companies, lest they request that information legally. So the UK government is conducting what they're calling a full review of the Palantir contract. That's £330 million. With the National Health Services out there, expires in early 27. There is political pressure building on the other side of the pond. to kind of terminate the agreement. Concerns, again, about the dependence of U.S. technology providers and critical public infrastructure. Critics have continually raised concerns about patient privacy and data access, especially with U.S. ties, or sorry, Palantir's ties to U.S. defense and government agencies. So let's see if this actually ends up going through, because right now it's just concerns, Adair.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. It's not the first time we've heard these concerns either. Once again, guys, in 40 seconds, first economic data print of the day, excluding the weekly employment change data, which we did get slightly lower than expected, not the monthly, just the weekly here. But again, at 8:30 a.m., in 30 seconds, forecast here for that U.S. trade balance for the month of April, negative 56.1 billion versus the prior print of negative 60.3 billion. So expecting this slightly higher than expected or less negative than expected. 10 a.m. we're going to get some more data, of course, existing home sales, wholesale inventories month over month, existing home sales change month over month, and then wholesale sales. So some other data at 10. Once again, though, that 8:30 number, U.S. trade balance, just days before we get CPI and PPI in rapid succession on Wednesday and Thursday. U.S. trade balance, as you guys can see here, negative 55.9 billion versus negative 56.1 billion expected. So slightly better than the expectation here. Let's see if we get a move in the market. Not too much. Again, guys, negative 55.9 billion coming out here, slightly higher than what we were expecting. Before we send you back to the guys, I want to take a moment to mention our friends at NV Medical, or FEED, because they just announced Ask Oscar, as you can see here in the chart. It's going back about 10 minutes ago. This is an AI-powered training platform designed to help hospitals train clinicians on its feeding tube navigation system. Management of FEED, or NV Medical, saying that the platform could accelerate adoption, create recurring software revenue, and eventually support its robotics feeding tube initiative. So good look there for FEED. Meantime, are you guys watching Palantir at all today?
Nice move on feed. Yeah, go ahead.
Move on feed. No, it's on like the side list. It's flat. It's relatively flat today for PLTR. I think if it was at the 142, be a little bit more maybe even the 140s, be a little bit more inclined. Like, you're now under the 50 period again. So like the support down here on Palantir has been 125. And then the 200 period got respected big time. So I think if it gets up to the 140, like that would be that spot. Look for a fade on PLTR. Otherwise, it's at mid 120s to high 120s that is just held fantastically as support for Palantir. So you just gotta wait for it to get there if you're looking for some longs. If we end up holding 134 and stay in this range, I'll probably be looking for some kind of fade off the top. It's not moving up, as you can see, like it's down 0.5%, like 0.5% into an up market. So it's not as if it's relatively strong in this particular case. Like, it's actually on the other side of the spectrum, which means I just have to wait for it, unfortunately. So yeah, not really on the radar necessarily, unless there was a really big drop and then we get into those 20s, and then I'd look for the reversion.
Yeah, I think Palantir basically, I think it just fooled a lot of people at this 160 marker. Like, I think it was primed to break out there, and it just didn't. Oh, my mic is screwing up again. Okay, hold on a second here. Do it back in, and there we go. Okay. We should really be doing this when it's not my turn to speak, but okay. Anyways, there's the move up to 160 right there, again, for Palantir, and I thought that there was probably potential for breakout, but I was waiting for it to get to 170 to sell. So that was a mistake there, because it did get as high as 163, 164. And, you know, when things are good for Palantir, you really think they're going to go. But it's had a problem, right? I mean, you go all the way back to the beginning of this year. This is February right there, and we haven't really been able to get going, and it's been in quite the channel here for PLTR now. You know, you can draw it. This is that 160. And it's too bad. Neil just stepped out, but I wanted to ask him where he got involved, because he said that he was playing the breakout here on Palantir, so I don't know where that is. He'll probably say he's long right around here, but this is a price that I think you want to look at is 130. You know, and you've fallen back in now a decent amount if you like the name, or maybe if you're don't have any exposure to Palantir right now. I still have, you know, the boat is still pretty full on this name, as full as I need it to be anyways. We had rode this thing quite a nice little while, but since it came over into the NASDAQ, this is back in November of 24, that was $66. It made a move up to 220, and now it's just fallen back. So I don't know, Palantir just doesn't excite me the same way it used to, and now you're getting a review of different government contracts. The fact that we failed pretty cleanly there at the 200 period moving average gives me a little pause for concern about this whole AI trade as far as Palantir is concerned. And some of these other names, I think the big shiny, you know, piece in the room right now is what's happening with SpaceX, right? So we're going to have to just wait to see where this settles down. And the same kind of money that's in Palantir is probably going to rotate over into SpaceX, right? Palantir is a pretty big retail name, especially when it starts moving. So yeah, like I said, I think there's a lot of fluff right now in this market that has to come out in order to get involved with a SpaceX, and Palantir is prime for that. And I think that's potentially why we had a little bit of a sell-off in Bitcoin. I mean, there has to be money raised. You're having a name that's going to come to market at $2 trillion. That's probably going to be oversubscribed. You saw yesterday it was about 2 times oversubscribed, which is nothing. Wait till you see what happens on, today, Wednesday, Thursday, and then into Friday when SPCX starts to take off. All right, and then here's a name where people are getting excited again, and I can't really find a story too much specifically. There's always some sort of a story on Tesla, but it's now broken through yesterday's high right there of 413 and trying to go. I wrote this on the list. I wrote down 410, but I can see the 200 period is now 411. So this name, on a potential pullback in would be on my radar today also is Tesla. So I have Intel, Tesla, the TQs, and we're looking for one more name to play here today. But yeah, I like Tesla breaking higher as we speak, up 1.5%. Look at the market shooting higher right here as well. So yeah, man, it's a good one, and we're gonna get ready to go back over to the desk as we discuss more as the NASDAQ reaching that 1% marker, ES up 0.5% as well there today. We're gonna watch out for maybe some SoFi coming through, some Robinhood, as it's been PDT mania over the last little while. Yesterday we had this INHD, and Joe and I were sitting here after hours watching this name go. It got up to $60, man, and just as we sort of said, and fell all the way back down. This name was up 5,000%. We'll see what winds up happening here today as I guess it's halted again here, INHD. So
yeah, it's an information request by the NASDAQ.
Yeah,
so that's actually, when you get an information request halt, those are pretty indeterminate.
Here it was yesterday. Yeah, it wound up opening up. It took about 2 hours off and then opened up there. So now they got to figure out what the heck is going on with this name. So we'll wait to see when this name finally opens up. It may not open up for a minute. So yeah, hopefully you guys did get involved in here and made a little bit of money somewhere, but so far so good there on INHD. I keep hearing that cash register ring. Normally that means a super chat, but it's not working. So we're getting that going right here. And here's the super chat right here. I'll just show it up on the screen. Sale had earnings there, so we can, was Sale on our watch list? Yeah, I did see it there. So Sale here down. I mean, we will talk a little bit about it maybe. Why don't we go back over to Adara and she'll discuss maybe what those Sale numbers are, but this is what the chart looks like for now, down 12% to the low side of this. But yeah, Adara has the numbers if you want. They're all written out on our watch list.
Not smooth sailing for this stock at all here. The biggest issue that I was seeing here is their guidance. It's literally exactly in line with estimates at the midpoint for fiscal 2027 revenue. $1.265 billion, $1.275 billion was their outlook. Estimates here were $1.27 billion in terms of the actual quarter they reported for, which was Q1 27. Revenue up 22% year over year to $280 million. Subscription revenue up 23% year over year to $266 million. Annual recurring revenue, or ARR, $1.163 billion, growth about 26% for all of their segments that I was seeing, as well as for their forward guidance. It's all more or less within that roughly 20% growth each. So that's a quick rundown here of these SAIL earnings. And if you do want to see them in full, mostly it's just what I summarized here. You can always grab our free Trader TV Live watch list, which we use as the basis for our rundown, which is going to be happening in about 23 minutes. So don't go anywhere. In the meantime, let's take a look at something that wasn't in the rundown. This actually came out, or not the rundown, but the watch list rather. This came out yesterday. Bit of a drop here in Alibaba, as you can see yesterday when this happened, but Pentagon releasing an updated list of certain Chinese companies with potential military connections.
Baba, as you mentioned, Baidu, BYD, NIO, and several other Chinese, specifically tech companies being added or updating this 1260H list of firms believed to support China's military and military industrial complex. The designation doesn't actually impose direct sanctions. What it does, it prohibits the U.S. military specifically from doing any sort of business with them. Now, they're pushing back aggressively, specifically Baba and Baidu, strongly disputing the classification and indicating they're going to pursue legal avenues to kind of seek the removal from that 2060 H list. The move does come, though, after President Trump and President Xi did meet last month, highlighting kind of like an ongoing disconnect kind of between the trade diplomacy and the U.S. national security policy that we see coming from the military. So we'll see how this works. But as we mentioned earlier, they're not really reacting all that much to this.
No, and even when we had other updates to this list, like when they happened, there was a much sharper reaction versus what we saw yesterday when this came out. Just a little bit of blip and then business as usual. I also want to mention another China story here today. Bloomberg reporting, and this is, I think, came out a little bit before 8, that China is looking to spend roughly $295 billion, so more than $250 billion over the next 5 years on building data centers across the country, across China. So interesting look here, more data center competition in China. We know Taiwan also, I was reading this morning, some kind of guidance as well to stop working with a lot of these Chinese firms. They want to support the US. So lots to keep an eye on when it comes to China-related catalysts today.
I would think that maybe you're not getting as big of a reaction negatively for Alibaba and some of these other names, just because they already got dinged in like they took a stray when it came to the fintech crackdown in China, and like everything pretty much, it didn't really matter if you're a Chinese listed company trading in the US, you went to the downside on that fintech story, and ultimately, like it already got down to its lows for the year. So kind of technical bounce level here for Alibaba off 120, but there's still nothing about this that looks healthy. Fundamentally, sure, fine. Like you're getting everything you want out of them. If Alibaba, if you just simply transposed the business and the numbers from Baba and it was Amazon, you know, like the stock wouldn't be performing this way. I think everybody gets that. So until you do something off this 120, I think last week we were saying, hey, maybe flat bottom breakdown here on Alibaba and then see where it can settle itself down. It hasn't happened yet, but it's getting pretty close. Ultimately, this needs to break trend again. It did and gave you the 200 period moving average. That's about it, and couldn't get it any further. So again, this is not a fundamental story. You got to see what shoe is going to drop next here. That's going to change things. The end of the war, easing between U.S. and China, the focus can go back there. I don't know, but nothing's really seemed to work yet, and you've had plenty of other places in tech where you can go be healthy. I feel like a flush out bottom needs to happen for Alibaba. Like break this area down, get into like 100 or underneath $100, and I think you'll get plenty of buyers down there. It just hasn't really materialized.
Yeah, if Alibaba flushes 25%, I do think there'll be some buyers for sure. I think there's buyers now. So I put it right down for 120 long. I think let's see what winds up happening here today. We've seen it bounce off there yesterday. So if Alibaba somehow retraces back in, which I don't think it will today, this is a trade. So there it is. I wrote down 120.50 right now for Alibaba. I only have 4 names on the watch. So, you know, I'm going to write down Alibaba as a long down here into 120. So again, I think it's just beat up a little bit too much, obviously, there, as China's a huge business, huge opportunity, and I really like the long here in Alibaba if it holds up today at that 120 marker. So it needs to come down, retest, have a look, and then we'll see about ripping it long. I mean, it's up $1.67 right now, percentage points, and we'll just wait to see if it winds up holding, doubling the market pulling back in. Alibaba not really. So I like what it looks like here today. BABA on watch, and then you can always look at. I was actually going to look at FXI actually as an ETF because yesterday it was moving around a little bit as well, or the day before. Obviously everything was, but there's FXI. Nice move. And if you're going to look at something else, this kind of looks like Alibaba itself right there, and this is why we bring it up. I mean, if you like Alibaba, maybe you want to take a piece of everything. Tencent, Baidu, Pinduoduo, all that with the top 100 names here in China on FXI. So we can wait to see if there's some sort of a buy opportunity here. It goes all the way back to May of 25, some of these levels. So you're about, round trip all year. And this is one where you can hold. It's not something that you have to overly worry about. I mean, this was a pretty dramatic drop during the tariff tantrum. But other than that, I mean, it's been pretty solid here. It is a downward sloping name, doesn't look the greatest, but at the same time, if you can take a shot, I think you have an easy out around this 34.50 area. Even if you hold it to 33.50, I think you're still doing okay, right? I mean, we've found worse opportunities out there and been wrong many more times than you would be on FXI. So, all right, Joe, upgrades and downgrades time to shine.
All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to kick things off with some downgrades. With Lennar at the top of the list. You're down a little bit less than a percentage point, 0.8 to be exact. But we're going from a market perform to underperform here, and an $86 price target. That's down from $97. Keith Brett giving them that downgrade. Now, ASTS on the downgrade side of things, but we're positive this morning, guys, 6.5%. Price target of $60, that is down from $65 at Barclays. And then we have Campbell Soup here, guys. You're down about 0.6% with a sell rating and a price target reduction from $19 to $17 at UBS. And then we have Centerspace going from an overweight to a neutral here with a $72 price target. That is up from $64 at Piper Sandler. Moving forward, guys, Cleveland Cliffs at the top of the upgrade side of things. We're up about 0.33% here, going from a sell to a hold with a $225 price target at GLJ Research. Now we have Fuel Cell also getting the nod, guys. You're up 13% here today, going from hold to a buy, and a $30 price target. That's up from $12. So more than a double there at Canaccord Genuity. Now Toll Brothers also getting the nod, guys. Market perform to outperform, and a price target of $161. That's up from $158 once again at Keep. And then we have West Pharmaceutical Services going from equal weight to overweight with a $400 price target, and you're up 2.6% here today at Barclays, giving them the nod this morning, guys. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
Yeah, despite the downgrade for ASTS, like they're up almost 8 points because they did schedule the launch of their Bluebird 8, 9, and 10 satellites. So for June 17th from the Cape, they're going to launch off, and this one's trying to launch again. You've seen the sell-off the last couple of weeks from effectively double tops here on ASTS Pay, but it held $90, held the 50-period moving average. Now you got the launch scheduled. So this one is poised for a shot to break through $100 today. You know, up pretty strongly relative to the rest of the space, pun intended. And obviously you wish the best for that launch, but you keep your ear to the ground there with only about a week, just over a week, until they get that hopefully successful launch. So I think they have some room to give at least a couple more days before all you know what breaks loose on Friday, which would be quite the liquidity event. And there's only so much money to go around. But yeah, positive, downgrade, fine, but the story here would be the schedule launch, I think, and why you're seeing the 7.5% to the upside. Some of the other names that haven't been as fortunate, look at Citus here. That's actually slightly up, but the last couple of days have been much worse to them. So I think ASTS actually stands out in the other direction today, at least in that space. That pun over and over.
Yeah, yeah, so do I. But we'll be making it a lot. I mean, we wait for SpaceX, right? We talked about that. I was going to say a name that I know Joran and you like. We've talked about this before. And it's a good thing I didn't get filled at 195. But what about now on AV? We talked about, you know, names that are coming into some decent levels. That was just 220 last week, and now you're down to 185 again. And, you know, again, another name where I just... Whenever I'm thinking about like the future and what's going on, I mean, drones are going to be something that seems to be pretty popular, especially what's been happening with the current state of warfare. But there's AV. I mean, well off, cut in, you know, down 60% from these levels here in January or more, 185. So this is looking pretty good. I just want to bring it to people's attention there because we talk about ASTS, we talk about Rocket Lab, but here's another name here that's, you know, prone to, you know, on some good stories, get right back to the upside. But I was just actually thinking the downside of this trade, of course, is when Trump declares everything's over, you know, if it actually ever is, then maybe you do get a downside push there. I mean, the low is 150, so we could wait a minute, but that's at the 50-period moving average. So I haven't re-put my bid in, but this is an interesting name here, down at the 50-period moving average. But maybe until it breaks, you know, the 200 period, we're starting to slope down right now on the 200 as well. Maybe a name that if we can get, if Brian Shannon comes on today, may ask him about AV. Just another one of those kind of high flyer names where we can take a shot if the market does really rally back. We know it has some get up to it. And then another longer term name that I'm not really in either one of these, but I was thinking about buying some SMR in and around here. We did buy some at 20 or something. Maybe it was even 30. We bought some back. I think maybe it was 20. We sold it at 57, which was so lucky that we had able to hit that time. And that was just because it was getting obviously back at these levels. We made a decision, to sell it, and it just happens to be 57, which was exactly the top, which is crazy. But right into here, again, looking to break through that $20 to $21 mark, that would be something. That's your 200 period moving average. And this is just a name that's been going sideways for almost all year again. It does have its up and downs, but at the same time, we're kind of just winding up where we'd been. This is back into February. So I guess it's not completely sideways. It was $21 back in January, and now you're cut in half again. So this is also a name that I'm thinking about. You could sit on it for just a couple minutes and see if it gets back up to the upside. And of course, by minutes, I mean maybe months, how long this may take. But a break of 13.80, $14, I really like SMR as well. So just a couple short plays there that you're interested in. I am a little bit more interested in SMR just because of where the value is down here. But none of these names making any money, so we're gonna have to wait on it. It's coming out soon, the sticky note. I don't have Marvell on it, but again, they got the bounce into the S&P 500, which is obviously really nice. They're still holding out pretty nicely, right? ARM is down pretty, I think ARM was 350 or so from a high of 4 something. This Marvell is trying to hold out. So we'll have to wait for this one again. We had it on the note yesterday at $300. It was a kind of a choppy open, so we didn't really do anything with it. But if this name could fall back in, it seems like there is some support around 290, 288 to 290 where yesterday's close was. So we'll have to see if that happens. And then an early look for Marvell is this 295, 296 area where we dropped into there, bought it back, dropped in and bought it back before losing the bid at the end. But if the market's going to be high today, potentially this 295 to 296 would be something. And then a name that you could take advantage of today if you do like, sort of this aggressive space here. Redwire has filed and for an offering and is now down 7-8%. When we first brought it to you, it was almost down 10%. So, we'll see if this one can go SSR and maybe get a bounce on that. So, yeah, you just got to find the right places to look at the right names, and you can find some good value in this market, that's for sure. And my guy J&J also getting some news today as well. I just saw it across something about in the or some approval, but we'll have to wait to see what happens with J&J. But another name that we were, dip buying last week into this 223 area. So that's starting to work out just a little bit there for J&J. And then the name that we bought on Friday, IREN, is now running to the upside. So we're long at 52. So here's another story where we it's almost like that ARM trade. If we can go from 200 to 400 in ARM in a couple of weeks, and I don't think we're gonna go from 55 to 110, but IREN does have an opportunity to get back into this area for sure. I mean, we could even get to this by the end of the week, $66, $67. Then we may trim some of that as we go 52 up to 66 there and put a little extra cash in the pockets. Nothing wrong with lining them these days. So yeah, there's a couple look at a couple aggressive names there. It's 851 now. You have another one there, up 25%.
Yeah, I just saw there was another small capper doing some decent volume. This ORIS looks like Oriental Rise Holdings. If you see the volume spike, it is because they are doing a reverse split, so that'll allow them to obviously stay in compliance. That's the only news story that I was able to see for them, and that's going to be the reason why they're up, and it's already giving some of the move back. So just looking at these small cappers out here, there's going to be a few. Some of them are going to hold a little bit better. TX Jets fan, I like that point that you just made. I'm going to throw it up here. Yesterday's price action looks like a rotation out of NBIS into IREN. So Nebius had been doing relatively well. I mean, all things considered, if you look at Nebius, it was already off of the highs, but that was a hefty sell action here for that bad boy. But it wasn't really anything crazy. If you look at the last couple of sessions, it more or less put in the regular pullback kind of day. And when you think about the overall trend in Nebius, I'd venture it hasn't broken the upward trend. It's had dips like this before, where you've gone 20%, maybe 25 from the top, and it hasn't really broken that buy the dip scenario. I think that's the thing that you're looking for. And it doesn't really matter what space you're in. These bull runs where you've had a lot of stocks 2x, 3x, 5x in the last couple of months, maybe on the year, a lot of these names, even when they're pulling back, they're not really breaking this dip buy trend that you've been seeing. They'll go down for a week, some 2 or 3 days, and then you see the buying come right back into it. It's when the behavior changes on an individual name. That's when you start to treat it differently. So yeah, I mean, obviously you can look at a chart and say, yeah, IREN up and Nebius down, but until the dip buyers start failing and you start breaking these trends, I don't think you've got too many people worried. And certainly, this name has been, 2-3 bagger. This is why people say take profits on the way up. It's a difficult thing to just sort of sit there and watch it all come back in when the dip buyers don't go. But for now, this seems to at least be holding trend on that Nebius. Let's head back into the desk, almost 9 o'clock.
Let's talk here about APLD. Nice push to the upside. Sharif mentioned this one during our little opening spiel here at 8 a.m., but this one has a take-or-pay lease deal with a hyperscaler.
Exactly, Adira. A massive 15-year, $5.2 billion. As Adira mentioned, take-or-pay lease. It is with an unnamed, and this is going to be a recurring theme in this story, an unnamed hyperscaler. It is a high investment grade, apparently, according to the report. And it's for their AI factory called Delta Forge 2. It's going to be about 210 megawatts, give or take. Total contracted pipeline, though, cumulatively for the company now up to 1.4 gigawatts. But let's talk about the debt that they had to raise in order to build out this new Delta Forge 2. So $1.59 billion in a high-yield senior secured note. It's going to be due in 2031 because they got to build it out all out of their own pocket. No bridge financing here from the hyperscalers. The bridge financing, though, did come from Goldman Sachs, which a significant portion of this $1.5 billion that they're raising is actually going to go to pay off that Goldman Bridge loan. So it's not really going to go directly to the 210 megawatt facility. So thirdly, over here, I wanted to mention that this sort of single buyer monopolization is creating a lot of single customer risk. Again, this unnamed hyperscaler is the third time we've seen this from APLD, whether it was Delta Forge 1, that their old data center, or Polaris Forge 3. Both had unnamed hyperscalers. Last but not least, they're not scheduled to see any money from this until about 2028 because it's not going to be built until 2028. So they're going to have to carry the CapEx from then on their own, Adira.
Do you have any theories as to who this unnamed hyperscaler could be?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think off the top of my head if I had any ideas. It could be any one of them. In the meantime, though, how do you guys feel about APLD?
We're just having some fruit over here and eating some.
Timing.
But APLD, I mean, I don't know, Applied Digital. We do know that there's some complaints about our mics. We are trying to work on them right now, so hopefully they can get corrected. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't take any.
We got caught both innings.
All right, so 50 bucks right there on APLD. Isn't going to break higher, who knows? But it's a nice move here today, up that 12%. You know, these guys just ran over why, you know, you have this 44 marker there. I always look at the 200 period moving average, but when it's up 12%, this is like an earnings play. So when there's a gap, kind of play it back to VWAP, which is 45.50. So coming back right into there is definitely a level that, you know, we could look at. There's been some good support in and around this area. So for me, a pullback into 45 bucks today probably gets this done. So I'll look at 45.20 there as a low. We'll see if it breaks lower. That could be a play. Like I'm right now, I do have the sticky note of just working on it and getting ready to push send. We are looking for a long on the market here if it does fade out, but that's VWAP right there. So we did have a nice little bounce. I could see the market losing the bid today. Like I said, I think there's gonna be some money out there that still needs to be raised. And if that winds up happening, $45 is a loose trade there. Could easily come back in, easily to that $44 marker and then give back, you know, close to half today to back into 43. So for me, it's just a break or take trade here at 45 bucks. Either you sit there and you hope that it winds up holding and you give it maybe 50 cents or so, but the high end of this trade is 46.50. If you're gonna go long between 45 and 45.50, I just don't know if the risk to reward is there. So it might be a better, safer trade actually. I don't say this too often. It might be a safer trade to play the breakout of 46.50 and then use it back to 46. Give yourselves 50 cents on some momentum back to the upside. So we'll see. We don't normally trade this name, so on a day where I'm not really sure what the spread's gonna look like, I think this is a really reasonable trade. I'd rather it happen like at 9:35 or so, not right off the open, but that's not horrible. To break that long there and then use 46 or whatever the current view up is at that time. So I think the aggressive play is to break long on this high of 46.50 and then see where we go from there, because you're trying to get back up to here, right? So you can't get back up to 50 until you break 46.50. So I think that's a trade that the general market will be looking at here today.
Yeah, I actually like this one. It's 30% short float on APLD, 29.9, effectively 30. I mean, depending on what source, it's still going to be a big one. I think that's going to matter. I zoomed to the 15-minute just to get a little bit of a better sense, and I kind of look at 44.70 to 75, like right in here, like these prior levels. As long as it holds that, meaning it could break 45. Hold right in between 44.5 and 45. Like I think that 50 cents is where we'll want the long back into. And as long as it holds that in the open range, it's got a good chance to go. Fill in the gap. The 30% short float is what makes it pretty enticing here. Its volume's good. It's more on the good, not great. It's doing some decent relative volume pre-market, but it's not blowing you out of the water. It's a $45 stock. This isn't one of your, micro cap or micro cap super small float type of name. So you do have to treat it much like the rest of the market, which the dip buy, you have to be careful with the dip buys when we have these names. But the 44.5 into 45 is that target range that I like. Until it's under 44.5, I think I'm giving it a chance today.
All right, it's 9 o'clock. We're going to be going down the rundown right now. We do have some numbers coming out at 10 o'clock, but until then, it's a rundown. Go make sure you get our watch list there, link in description. It's completely free. It's the absolute best one you're going to find and one that we're going to be running through. How about now?
Oh, now indeed, Sean, we're going to look at the futures in a second, but because you mentioned numbers, I just wanted to do some housekeeping one more time here. Existing home sales at 10 a.m., 4.07 million prior forecast here in the prior print was 4.02 million. Also getting wholesale inventories, existing home sales, and wholesale sales. So all of these sale-related numbers coming out at 10. In the meantime, how are these futures looking, Sharif?
Looking okay, Adara. 739.11 is where we closed out yesterday on the SPY. So we still continue to reject that $10 level at 740. We're above it right now to the tune of $3 1/3. So we're going to look 740. That's going to be support level 1. If we start selling off for whatever reason, who knows what happens. Yesterday's closing print, 739.11, will be support level 2. To the high side, let's get through that 745 first before we start looking again at 750. So R level 1, looking at 745, R level 2, Adara, 750.
And right now, we're going to be looking at our Trader TV Live watch list, which is, as always, the basis for our morning rundown at 9 a.m. Every day the markets are open. This watch list will come to your inbox for free with all the info you need to know to tackle the day. This includes earnings before or after the bell, any earnings that already reported that we want to let you guys know about that we have numbers on, tons of economic events. It is jam-packed with info, and again, it is FREE free. Let's talk about AAPL here. WWDC. Not too well received here by the markets. As you can see, this was dropped like $15, I think, from that intraday high, that spike. But let's talk about here with AAPL, finally giving us some Siri AI integration.
Nothing surprising whatsoever about this report. Everything that they announced yesterday had already leaked online well ahead of the event. We spoke about it at length at the midday show. So really nothing really to update you on other than what we spoke about yesterday, other than to say perhaps what kind of caught me a little bit by surprise was the fact that they're going to use Nvidia a little bit more than I was expecting. Usually that they were looking to create these data centers using Apple Silicon, specifically the M5 chip. They're still going to incorporate Nvidia. So I'm expecting a little bit more from Apple in terms of CapEx, which makes sense after the Turnus, kind of move that they said they weren't going to be cash neutral going forward. But you got sort of AI littered everywhere within the Apple ecosystem, whether it's passwords, Safari, messengers, photos, home, health, Xcode, shortcuts, everything has Siri and AI built into it. What I kind of liked, again, is the contextual assistance. So Siri sees what you're looking at on screen and is able to make intelligible decisions. So let's see how this does, Adara. Aggressive sell-off yesterday.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, too, is as I mentioned a couple times yesterday, I'll mention again today, Apple almost always sells off on WWDC day, so this was not that shocking. Now 3 of the last 17 WWDCs going back to 2010, we've had red sessions almost down 2% yesterday, despite being up well over 2% at highs. I'm also seeing, guys, some news out of the Middle East. Draft agreement reportedly being sent to the American side for review with confirmation that the draft is preliminary preliminarily acceptable to the American administration. This is being reported by Sky News. Again, more reports, draft agreements are being sent. If I get further details, I'll keep you posted. Back to you.
Thanks, Adair. And like you said, it seems to always do this. And if you think about it in the general sense, Apple's always going up and it's always going down if you're WDC, you're generally thinking, when are you going to buy the dip? I'm not completely sold. It's today. When we were looking at it earlier, I know the 290, it just seems like an obvious spot here. You're talking about the November high, you're talking about the 50-period moving average. Give it a couple more days. And when I zoomed it out, like 305 to 306, if it holds the 300 level, I feel like that's like a nice little fade continuation kind of spot for Apple. Maybe it'll give you a couple of days of heading to the downside, and then hopefully that 290 will provide us a bit of a bounce drop. I feel like we're closer to that resistance at 05, so that'll be the first look for me on Apple today. But I'm willing to be nimble with this one. Like, I think it's in play because of WDC. And obviously, if it just flat out holds 300 and you just get this nice consolidation or like VWAP bounces, like a play into the 05, 06, that's certainly a possibility. But the first look will be that quick pop and fade. Like, maybe get some exuberance buying, get up a couple of points, and then I want to look for that fade off 5 and 6.
Yeah, so yesterday, I mean, this is what we did. We were going long there when it came back in off of the event. You could see when the volume started to pick up around 115. And then we just went short, man, and we crushed that. Like, that was a 308, 309. Those are 302. That's $5 or $6 there on the short side for Apple. Apple was, I think, was my #1 stock yesterday. I think it might have been #2, but we'll have to wait for it today. I don't like shorting Apple, but that was just the reverse right there, where we went long and then we flipped it over to the short once we realized that that was a much better play. And then, you know, as they say, Bob's your uncle after that one. And then we just kept on going to the downside. So obviously I'm going to be sitting here looking at Apple one more time today and just waiting for it to make a move and then adjust accordingly to said move, right? You're now above 299.50 there. You're above 300, so the VWAP's probably going to hold. We'll wait to see what winds up happening with Apple. I've got here on today's note, I have just a few easy names, I think. And you always try to make easy trades, right? And so I'm probably the simplest trade looking for the setups. There's Intel, there's Qs, there's Tesla, there's Alibaba. So they all have the word long on it. So I believe it's a risk on type of day today for all of those plays. There we go, the cash register is now working. You are short ONDS. Are you cooked? I have not looked yet, but we can have a quick look at ONDS.
I mean, this is the price that it's at. It's hard to be, I don't know, what people use the term cooked an awful lot. Like,
yeah,
the kids at baseball, they're like, oh no, I'm cooked. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Too much overreaction. You are at a technical support level. I would grant you that. Like, you're literally sitting 50-period moving average on a stock which has been holding up trend. So, like, you can make the argument that it's at a bit of a support bounce spot. But you obviously got a thesis. I'm sure you're looking continuation short, my guess, and it's got over the top this 11 level that you could be working off of. Like, there's nothing crazy risk to reward. Like, someone could be sitting long here to the support at 10 or short here to the resistance at $11. And some might be thinking bounce off the 50s. Others might be thinking fold all the way down to the 200-period moving average. I mean, the technicals aren't disgusting in either direction. I don't see a reason to be trading it. It's not really doing anything today. It's kind of milling in the middle, but I wouldn't say cooked is crazy. Broadcom, Apollo, and Blackstone platform to launch with $35 billion deal. Apollo to facilitate Anthropic capacity expansion. Anthropic. That's the one we want.
Yeah, it's Anthropic, OpenAI, and SpaceX all coming big time, right? And so, you know, the thing about Anthropic is, I mean, I know we saw some names in there, but Amazon is the largest shareholder. So if we think that there's going to be some value that's going to be found here somewhere in the market, I mean, why not on Amazon right now? I mean, if Anthropic does come to market with that, you know, over $1 trillion valuation, which is looking like it, I think yesterday's the S1 filing there for OpenAI had it about 850 or so, $850 billion for OpenAI. So I think that we can find out, you know, very, very soon what Anthropic's is going to look like. You know, we have to wait for pricing. You where that goes. And we know that the official one for SpaceX is 1.77 trillion. Probably it'll be, north of 2 trillion at some point. But there's 245 coming right back into some of these levels. We'll see if 235 winds up holding for Amazon. I mean, I definitely want to get some longs into AMZN in the long-term account. We did talk about that a little bit on these couple names. And then the second biggest shareholder, I mean, there's going to be other shareholders, but public names, Google into Anthropic. So again, like another opportunity here to think about, if you like Google, you like the moat, you like what they're talking about, then maybe there's an opportunity to get longer on Google, playing what should be a good valuation. The largest windfall in Ontario teachers' pension plan history is with SpaceX. They invested in at 200, I think it was 200 billion, and they're gonna be wound up making about 11 billion, 200 million. They're gonna make 11 billion on that deal. So shout out to the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund there. One of the largest windfalls in their history for sure. In early investors in SpaceX there. 200, maybe it was 200 or 250 million dollars the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan put out, and it's gonna be worth 11 billion dollars. They must have paid somewhere about 1% or so for that. So yeah, we'll watch out for that name going higher. And another name, we had a good game yesterday, obviously in Madison Square Gardens, MSG. There it is, MSGE. Okay, that's the symbol there. Is that right? No, this can't be right, I don't think. Wait a minute. For Madison Square, maybe it is. MSGE, maybe Enterprises, maybe at the end of it. Yeah, Entertainment Corp. Okay, yeah, that's right. I just thought it was a little more expensive. Maybe they had a split, but yeah, this is what MSG's been doing, right? Epic run by the New York Knicks has created more value here for Madison Square Garden, of course. Huge facility. Huge opportunity for them to continue to get higher. I think that Madison Square Gardens actually has a continuation play to it as well. I mean, because the Knicks, with the success that they're doing, sell more merchandise, right? Even into next year, even if they don't win, selling more merchandise, being on more primetime games next year, Madison Square Gardens, nice to have the Knicks. I mean, the NBA is better with the Knicks being better. All the top teams, every league is better with those teams being better. So there we go, man. It's a nice move higher right there for MSG. And, even just since that little playoff run here, if you go back to April, which we're still, the playoff run was later than that, but that's a nice break there, nice base, and then a move higher here for MSG. So watch out for Madison Square Gardens, and we'll say, go Knicks. I mean, I think that'll be awesome if what that city could wind up doing there if they wind up winning.
Cheering for the Knicks, but I'm still not completely convinced.
No, it's 2-1 now. I mean, they lost yesterday, and it should be a good one. I don't want all the home teams to always lose. Like, why can't they just split it and then eventually have a good game 7? So, yeah, the Knicks took both games there in San Antonio, and then last night, of course, Spurs took that in New York. So,
you know why Charles Barkley would say the Spurs are better on the road? He has his running joke about the women in San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
So Chuck knows what's up.
What, he called what at halftime? He
said the Knicks were going to win at halftime.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see, man. I mean, I don't think the series is over. Wembanyama missed a wide-open jump shot in Game 2, and yesterday they won. So I think it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know if it's Wednesday is the next game or Thursday, but again, those tickets are the most expensive tickets in sports history. MSG.
Oh, by the way, before everyone loses their minds, this CCTG that is absolutely flying seems like for the first time is putting in a bit of a pullback. Adam James abroad was trying to goat me into something on this one, saying it's going to $10, it's going to $10. We'll see if it gets there, but 800%, and we'll read the company name, CCSC Technology International, with a 3 million float. I'm looking for the story here. I actually don't even see. Yeah, no story. Yeah, why not? You know what? All you need is a low float, some chatter, volume in the close yesterday, and you get some continuation on CCTG. So apparently a Hong Kong company here, and thank you. I'm sure Sharif will be looking at this one. This is like almost 1,000. I guess it would, at some point it was up 1,000%. Which is hilarious on our charts because I think
we had a couple. That was at INHD yesterday.
INHD yesterday,
similar.
Same thing.
Again, there's going to be
probably.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of names running around here. We have the new PDT rule, right? So
exactly.
Some more opportunities coming through there for. I don't know. Some people are saying that the thing is cracking some of our sound. So I think maybe if you log out and back in, they are trying to work on it still. So is it on our end there, Andre? We don't hear it, so you guys try to... Okay, they're trying to figure it out, so we apologize and appreciate everybody waiting to see what winds up happening moving forward. But, all right, man, yeah, we're gonna go back over. It's 9:12 right now. Okay, here we go. These are all these IPOs that we're gonna continue to talk about. OpenAI IPO, then we have the chip names coming through there. Then we have another name related to chips with Micron, then we'll talk about some crypto.
Start here with MSFT. I pulled up the chart here because, I mean, Microsoft's involved, and of course they're invested in Microsoft, but OpenAI apparently has filed for this IPO, as announced by OpenAI.
Yeah, they did. They basically took to X and said, look, we know it's going to leak anyway, so we're just going to put it out there. So they filed their S1 with the SEC, confidential as it may be. $1 trillion is being slated here to be the valuation at the time of opening. Before that, though, they will allow some of their own employees to quietly kind of get out of some of their shares, but it's going to be at a valuation of $852 billion, so it won't reflect the $1 trillion gauged IPO. But according to some reports, Goldman and Morgan were really pressuring OpenAI to go first. And the reason is, according to some of the reports here, is they're saying there's going to be an early mover structural advantage. So the theory goes like this. Whichever AI giant kind of lists first, whether it's OpenAI or Anthropic, they're going to single-handedly write the accounting definitions, the growth metrics, the valuation multiples that Wall Street is going to mathematically kind of force upon the rest of the companies who go public after that. So you're going to be sort of the standard upon which others are compared. That's one angle. The other angle is this IPO wasn't even legally possible until last month. How come? Well, because of that trial with Elon Musk where he was trying to force them to go back to being a charitable organization. He obviously lost that on a statute of limitations technicality. And last but not least here, we know a lot about their metrics. 900 million weekly, I think, active users, $2 billion in annual revenue. What we don't hear a lot about, though, is the fact that they're actually not projected to reach GAAP profitability until 2030, believe that or not, because of the $24 billion that they're projecting in annual spend in CapEx just to keep up with the frontier models, not even to expand beyond that. So GAAP profitability could be an elusive target for them, Adair.
You can find this post on the OpenAI newsroom account on X where they announced it. This is actually a good account to follow because often there's rumors about the company. They'll address them there. But either way, saying that before this leaks, here we are. We submitted the confidential S1. OpenAI, IPO, and or related stocks, guys. Thoughts?
Obviously, look, this is going to be the main focus on Friday. But, well, IPOs and the sympathy that they're going to garner, the lack of money that'll be available if everyone has to pile into it. I think that's going to be a bit of a theme. Today, it's not necessarily front of the mind. I'm looking at Cerebras today, and that was the most recent IPO, which did what I think a lot of people are expecting of OpenAI and of SpaceX, and we'll see about Anthropic later on, which is it might come out ridiculously expensive, and then everyone gets burned on the first day, and then it settles itself down and catches a bit of a bid. Now, unbelievably, Cerebras was able to, like the bounce off 200, I mean, I wasn't here yesterday, obviously, but the bounce off 200 was pretty precipitous. I mean, unbelievable bounce, all the way into this 250 level. And it's like it filled in the gap in a single day. So when to me, it's more like the selling stopping maybe than the buying coming in to this. But when these IPOs settle, and you can get money trying to buy that dip, it gets a little bit more interesting. I'm not completely convinced on this one. It did come close to the issue at 185. Obviously got defended in front, but this 250, there was already a pop and it already did a pop and fade, which went down to 230 just a week and change ago. So I look at that 250 level. If I see a topping tail on, well, you guys can't see that because there you go. If I see a topping tail on this one at that 250 on the 15-minute, that's a continuation short, just like what happened in here. So that's the IPO that's in my focus. We'll cross the bridge when we get there with OpenAI. I don't think you're even terribly, you're not terribly concerned about money needing to find its way out of other things to get to OpenAI because SpaceX is going to be first. So we've got months to be able to consider this. It's too early to say how overvalued it's going to be. The market conditions are going to be completely different in a few months. SpaceX could cause a 20% retracement. And if it does, then my opinion on where OpenAI is going to be would be completely changed. So Cerebras is the only recent IPO that I'm looking at, specifically because of this 250. If it does do that nice little topping tail, I think it's a nice fade.
All right, 27% ownership in OpenAI is Microsoft, right? I mean, I don't know why we're not talking about this a little bit more. If OpenAI, when they come public, Microsoft owns 27% of OpenAI, 27%, right? So you got to be careful there. If it goes well, which I'm assuming it will, it'll be higher valuation than it is right now. If you like OpenAI, that's why I talked about Google, Amazon. Well, there's Microsoft right now. 27% is huge. So if this name comes out at $1 trillion, you know, 250 billion there, if for Microsoft, I don't think they're going to be winding up selling their shares in the open market, but it is a source of cash flow for them, Microsoft, in at a really super early light valuation, that is for sure. So it's going to be an interesting name to watch out for. That is Microsoft moving forward off of that OpenAI deal. But this hour is brought to you by, of course, Centerpoint Securities. Centerpoint gives you access to an extensive, easy-to-borrow list from multiple locate sources alongside a trading platform designed specifically for active day traders like you. Please visit Centerpoint Securities/TraderTV to try today. And if you do that, listen to this one, you're going to get 90 days, as it shows right on your screen there, of commission-free trading. So scan that QR code right now on your screen. There it is, bottom left, I guess, or bottom right, and you will be able to grab those 90 free days of commission-free trading. And the interesting point to me is the easy-to-borrow list. You got to make sure that, especially with some of these names popping around these couple days, you do want to make sure that your broker does have, just like we do here at Real Trading, want to make sure you have enough shares to go around for the shortable side of the trade as well. Thank you to Centerpoint Securities for sponsoring this hour of the program. All right, man, I mean, chips are in focus again. I've got my number one trade on here is going to be Intel long at 110. Then we've got the Qs, and then we've got Alibaba. So it's all kind of wrapped up into one. Let's go find the story, and then we'll talk about some opportunities today. My number one stock yesterday was Nvidia. That's what it was, off 208. So we'll look at a few things here today.
A couple different headlines here when it comes to chips. You already mentioned Intel. We talked about INTC with regards to this Cadence tie-up, and then yesterday reports that they were involved with Google and Nvidia. And speaking of Nvidia, they also some stories here. So there's a lot to talk about in this space today, Sharif.
There is absolutely, Adara, and I'm going to repeat the Cadence story here because I feel it's really important. This is we'll look at the future of Intel, the 14A node. Okay, this is the 1.4 nanometer node that would put them in direct competition with Taiwan Semi's most advanced 1 nanometer node. So I think it bears repeating. So what ended up happening here is Lip-Bu Tan, he's the former longtime CEO and executive chairman of Cadence. They signed a multi-year contract effectively routing massive critical portion of Intel's foundry software spending directly into Tan's former empire. Something to keep in mind there. There are connections between the two companies, but this is super important. The 14A process is their highly experimental node, as again 1.4 nanometers in Taiwan semi-speak, because internal engineering teams have really struggled with the structural design anomalies on the advanced lithography. Intel was kind of forced to hand over the co-optimization tasks to Cadence, I should say, is agentic AI-driven design tools. So they're almost ceding the fact that they can't do that. What is that picture, Sean? Oh my goodness. And also, there's a lot of insider selling, $67 million worth as well. So insiders were quietly liquidating about $67.5 million in stock before this announcement. Last but not least, Adara, this 14A process is super important to the company, a company called Apple, because they've contracted with Intel for future 14A deployments, specifically around the mobile processor A, with a view to possibly going into the M series in the future if it works out.
We've also got NVDA here on watch. We had heard yesterday, brought this to you guys right before the closing bell yesterday, that Elizabeth Warren is not going to get her dream of having Jensen Huang appear in front of the Senate Banking Committee. He rejected the offer to appear in front of them on Thursday, though he did say he'd invite Warren or any other senator on the committee to visit him to talk about AI, China, etc. at the NVIDIA headquarters. How do you guys feel about chips? I know Intel's on watch.
I like chips. Ketchup chips are fantastic. We like the dip today.
I like barbecue chips.
Barbecue's very solid as well. We'll get to super. Let's do it right now. Chris Prasad, greetings from Florida. Holla, appreciate your pre-market analysis and wish you all the very best on the international expansion. Appreciate you. Have a great day. Thanks. You have a great day as well, Chris. But we're gonna have some fun. Hopefully, Intel's gonna give us a couple of things. Look, I'm just gonna take the levels from the open yesterday. Like it already had 107 support, so that gives a dip buy. And I like a 114 break. And the thing about the break, just look at what happened last time it broke out at 114. It turned heavy at 118 with a 116 resistance as well. So that could like quick scalp. If it loses that, does topping tail, then I'm gonna like the 7 on the way back in. But the only, the only other name that's loosely on the radar is also SMCI, but this is more of a structural one. This feels still like it's catching its pullback range, the lower highs, all that good stuff. Like if there's a false break of the high, this is the one I'd go to over Intel because of that 45 level it's set in. But it's Intel first, 114 breakout, which could happen. I mean, we're 6 minutes away from the open. I don't put the order in now. I'll probably put it in like with seconds to go so we get to fill at the open or we get the dip, waiting for 107 on the way back.
We're having a lot of fun around here, and yesterday was a great time. And just a shout out, I wasn't sure what your Twitter handle is there, but apparently this is my alter ego, Deshaun, right here. So I want to say thank you to Jesse for putting this out. And like we said, man, yesterday we had a great time, and there it is right there. Thanks, Joe, for that. Here it is, Deshaun. So, you know, you can take me out of the streets, but you can't take the streets out of me. So we're getting ready to rock and roll here today. So really funny stuff, man. We already talked about having the best community out there. So big shout out. You just got a post there on X for this hilarious stuff, man. So, you know, we want to keep the fun times rolling around this here joint. All right, so just real quickly, do we have that coming out right now? There it is right here. The sticky note trade of the day will be Intel long 110 area. But the thing is that's kind of moved up a little bit now. I'm starting to bid at 111 here. I like the name. It's up 3%. I mean, we got to support that kind of a trade here today. If it does come into this 110, 111 area, it's just an area I want to try to buy it. So we'll start at 111. We'll wait to see what happens there at 110. I'm not sure it's even going to come down into those levels. It's, you know, we traded it yesterday. It was a great one. We'll have to wait to see what winds up happening there today. There's 1170 maybe as a top, sorry, 1370. That could be the break long, but we only have 5 minutes to go. The imbalances will come out in 3, 2, 1. We'll be able to get a second here. Let's just sort this by size, and we'll see if there's anything coming out. We got iBit out there as a sell. Maybe we could have added that to the watch list as well. Apple, I got to fix that wick. That's a sell side as well. Nvidia, small little buy. I don't see Intel on here, so you know it won't be affected too much by it. But this Nvidia buy is nice. So there goes Nvidia looking to break through 210. That could be a trade today. And then there's the Apple continue sell. But Apple was a nice move back through $300. If anything, I might want to buy some more Apple shares today at some point. So I really like what Apple's trying to do. I'm going to fix that trigger in a couple of seconds and get rid of this this wick up there. But yeah, Apple with a little bit of a buy here. Apple was down to 299, man, and we'll see if that winds up holding again. But 300 is where VWAP is. Very interesting day today for Apple. And yeah, I'll take that as a compliment there, Dave. J-Rock from Sunnyvale, man. If you guys haven't seen Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, J-Rock.
Yeah, that is right, man. So shout out to Canada with some of the best shows out there right now. All right, Apple, good move. And then there's Micron. Micron has had a nice little pullback. Let's go find out what the trade is going to look like today for MU.
MU with a pretty hefty upgrade today. This one gapped up, and it's trying to get back above 1,000, though. Not there yet. Let's talk about this upgrade, though.
Yeah, let's talk about it. This is a street high, guys, from UBS. $1,625 is the price target. And the modeling here implies a hefty and out of sight $36 billion in revenue with non-GAAP EPS coming in slightly below $21 at $20.96. That's the projection of UBS, and that's what they're justifying the street high valuation for. But a great majority of the financial explosion by Micron is entirely driven by basically huge increases in the price for HBM. The average selling price has increased basically a lot more than expected. They're basically saying 50% year-over-year price increase per gigabyte. They had been previously looking at about 35% year-over-year increase per gigabyte. That's 15% higher, obviously. To justify their street high price, they're also modeling that Micron will generate about $400 billion in cumulative free cash flow between 2027 and 2030. Last but not least, long-term agreements. We've spoken about these as sort of a defensive tool in nature. Apple uses them to lock in memory prices so that they're not, forced at the whim of the market, while Micron's using them in a bit of a different way. They're locking in the hyperscalers at slightly below market prices for high bandwidth memory. So they're foregoing a little bit of profit for that security and the long-term out view. So Micron looking pretty good here, Dara.
Yeah, just beware here, guys. Qualcomm dropping sharply. No news yet. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I was just checking. There's no, would have thought maybe it could have been an imbalance on Qualcomm there, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. As you'll see, Nvidia's a small buy at 200,000, IBIT, which we'll get to 450,000, but there's Qualcomm dropping pretty precipitously off of the open. Micron, that 1,000 level, maybe plays an over-under, but if you're looking at Intel, like there's so many stocks that have that. Intel's got the 114 for potential break, SMCI's got a level as well. We're gonna have to bottle quickly into crypto because IBIT is on my radar. It seems like it is every day. I don't know what to tell you. Market up, it's down. We got to bounce off 60,000, but what are you gonna do? It still looks incredibly weak or relatively weak compared to the rest of the market. It's still underneath that prior support. Right in here at about 36 on IBIT, and that was about 63 to 64K. 36.5, little, not really a double top, but close enough. I want phase into the even, phase into 36.5. You got to prove it for me, Bitcoin. We got one bounce day gapping up. That's not enough. Right back into relative weakness here for crypto, so I'm going to continue to look short on this until proven otherwise. It's been right to be short Bitcoin.
Okay, yeah, so I was looking at that DRAM ETF. We've talked a little bit about this over the last little while as well. So there's DRAM coming into play again, up another 5%. So, if you didn't take advantage of that dip down, we only have 1 minute left. Was there another story you wanted to get to? Maybe it was crypto. Yeah. But yeah, crypto right here on the come up today. We'll wait to see. It's down, but we'll wait to see that $35 mark was something that we had talked about yesterday. So we'll see if it can come back into those levels. But yeah, crypto heading to the downside with the NASDAQ heading to the upside. So that's a little interesting there as well. But yeah, all right, man, here we go. Ready to rock and roll here on open. It's 9:29. I'm looking for Intel. That's where I'm bidding right now. Okay, it might get filled down there when 111. Sorry, yeah. And then Tesla, I have the TQs as well on here. And then Tesla, whoa. Yeah, Tesla's come way back in now into 410. So watch out now. Maybe this is a sell sort of situation. All right, market's ready to go. All right. Welcome to the jungle, everybody. This has been a fun morning so far. There's Tesla, man. Comes right into 410, which is what we liked, but it's a nice little bounce right now there for Tesla. So let this one settle down just a couple minutes, and then we'll see where we go from here. 410 and change, heading upside now on Tesla, up to 413. So we're going to watch out for that, man. Maybe 408 or so. We wrote down 410 as a potential low, so we'll have to wait to see what Tesla winds up doing, and there goes Intel, as we had said previously. A nice little move there for Intel. What was it doing down there? I don't know, but we almost got to the 200 period moving average.
Apple at low of day already, so that just, it doesn't really pop much, but we're back through 300, down at 299 is this one. The sell-off continues, or I guess we can sell the news continues for Apple. I don't want to write them off too much. I think you're going to be fine at that 209 level if we get there. APLD, no real dip over there on Applied Digital. It's heading toward the highs. Was looking for 44.5 into 45. And then IBIT, as the market is slightly sliding higher to start. Not much. You still got Bitcoin holding the lows. We'll have to wait for a pop. I don't want to be chasing anything to the downside just yet. So pretty, I'd say quiet start. Like I don't have anything going crazy except for maybe Intel breaking 114, which could happen any second now. Everything else is pretty sideways.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is something similar to what happened yesterday where the market was kind of moving around. Some of these names were moving around, but the market was not doing too much there. We had wrote down the TQQs at 77 bucks. Let's have a quick little look to see what that's doing. So we're way away from that one right now. Nvidia, did it break that 10 area? Yes, it did. 210 break long right there. Nice move there through 210. We'll see if that can come back in. I'm still trying to wait for Tesla to see if that has a move. And then I I wanted to look at Alibaba. And you know, it's still early, man. It's 9:32 right there coming out for another one there. I did put in the chat there, I thought Randy was maybe on strike because we hadn't received any coffee yet today. Not even once, man. It's 8:30 over there. I don't know if he...
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's always...
Something felt different. I was like, that's right. I haven't been
there today. We got the banana, though, so shout out to Randy for that one. There he goes. He's ready to go. Now,
it's already a small cap or halted. I mean...
Yeah, which one is it this time?
I don't know. We don't know this. Well, I don't know this one because I don't think we might not have covered it. But FAC, certainly not the one most of you guys were hyped about, but halted to the upside. 22.25 is the current tap, which is more or less where this one halted. Still looking like it'll be about 3 or 4 minutes until it gets there. And then CCTG, this is the one that everyone was hyped about. I'm trying to figure, why is it halted at 57? It cannot be a volatility halt this early. That's a weird one. Not sure why CCTG is halted. This barely moved. I'm gonna have to double check. This might actually not. Maybe it's not a volatility halt.
Sometimes these things just halt like for no reason. I feel like, like yesterday that INHD, it was saying limit up, limit down for hours, and then
this doesn't make any. It didn't move. Okay, whatever. It's halted. It gets halted. It says that, so it'll be like 5 minutes. It'll open back up. Still looking at the same names. If this is all we're gonna get on IBIT in terms of a bounce to the upside, we just hit enter twice, so we can actually get to that chart. Maybe the first look off VWAP here. No breakout on Intel, so nothing really happening there. I go for the VWAP entry on IBIT and just try to give it back into this local high, which is yesterday's low. So that'll end up likely being the first trade. I really thought Intel breaking 114 was gonna be a thing today. It doesn't seem like it. I'm gonna try
first position of the day right here, Apple on the short. Let's just wait to see what winds up happening. It's not really doing a whole heck of a lot. I mean, it dropped through. We'll give this back to 300, somewhere around VWAP, where we'll get out if there's any issues here for Apple. But here we go, downside play for AAPL. Let's ring some Reggies right there. Now it's a nice 40 cents. We'll take out 40 cents on this one. There it goes, man, 1 for 1 so far there today on Apple. What's up, Adara?
Here in DXYZ and some of these space stocks, seeing reports that India is going to be freezing its Starlink approval due to some security concerns. So again, SPCX, ahead of its IPO, already getting some negative headlines. Keep an eye on DXYZ and other space stocks, maybe ASTS or LUNR, as once again here, India reportedly freezing Starlink approval due to some concerns about security. SPCX would be on watch if it were public, which it will be on Friday. Back to you.
Thing on Friday, but for now, the space name that was moving the most was ASTS with their launch date, the 17th for their Falcon 8, 9, and 10, I believe, but it is losing VWAP, so even that's not looking strong. No breakout there. I'm just trying to get that IBIT. As I said, Intel, which obviously was a much bigger move at the open yesterday. Oh, I'm still bidding at 107. Whatever. I can just leave that one in there. But there's still a chance for this breakout here on Intel. It actually tagged 113.99 and maybe even a dark pool at the even dollar without actually breaking. So it's inside the range. This is still very much a potential breakout play here for Intel. I've got my stop order. If it breaks the highs, then we're going to be into that bad boy for sure. And then I think it's the other thing I was looking at, if the market wasn't going to be strong, was the fade off SMCI. Well, you can see what happened there. It didn't break 45 even, it just flushed. So first available pop, I'll look prior close, which is about 44, and then we'll see if we can get into that one to the south side. So still offering IBIT and breakout trade on Intel.
It's Randy.
We get our reload.
Thank you, Randy. Tesla up to 417 and actually ripping right there. We had wrote down 410 as the low. It came into 411. Yeah, thank you so much, Randy, for that. Yeah, 4010. Yeah, 4010. 4010 o'clock, Randy. Yeah. This is what happens when we don't get the coffee. You know, we have no idea what we're even saying.
Yeah, Randy.
Around here. Rant on Randy. Thank you, Randy, for that one.
It.
Oh, today's the Rivian day, isn't it? I think it's, the 9th, June 9th. Yep. So we guys, first delivery starting there. We were in the Rivian store on Friday, Saturday. Pretty dead, but no R2s there, of course, here in Canada. So the R1 was 150. The model I was looking at, which seemed to be a little bit spicy. But there's Rivian, did have a move up to 18 bucks, now pulling back into 16. So is it exactly, I was gonna say, is it a buy the rumor sort of, sort of did, yeah. I mean, I think it could work out, right? I mean, I was looking at, there's not too many EVs that, look half decent, that have the good technology in it, that you can pick up for like that $50,000 mark there in the United States anyways. So good opportunity there for Rivian to get into a market that is relatively untapped right now. So I like Rivian. I do think there is an opportunity there for that trade. Okay, just really quickly here on Apple. So we just averaged into it. We're not trying to, this wasn't even on our list, so we're not trying to go crazy on a name that we haven't really, been looking at too much here today. But that was a nice little rinse to the bottom. I was saying I really like Apple to come into these levels so I can buy a little bit more for the longer term portfolio. But right here as a day trade, it is starting to, really appreciate back to the upside right now. We just missed that I was at $300.25, but I put it there after the fact. So if it comes back up, we'll take another fill somewhere around there. We did average into that. And I don't want to be in this name for very long, man. If we wind up breaking even above this 301 area, I think that's our stop out. And we'll just be like, okay, you got us. So we'll wait to see what winds up happening here with Apple. Holding the short for now. We did like a dip down opportunity in the market in general today, but I don't know. I just really don't believe in this market being up 1% today. I don't know. I thought that there would be a little bit more supply side selling here ahead of SpaceX, but it looks like that theory is wrong. But here we go, 300. We do get our 300 fill, but we're still waiting at $300.23 to see if we get another ad, and then we'll stop this one out at 301 and change.
Well, if I can't get Bitcoin, which just broke the low, I'm shifting to BM&R for some free locates. Like that pop and faded. Look at like IBIT. Through the low, you get weakness in crypto. I always try to pivot to the first name I can, and it's almost always BM&R. Adam James abroad likes AZI, baby. Did you already pivot from that other one? That was fast. First, you wanted to make a bet about that, what was it? Shoot. What was that the other one? What was the C in it? It doesn't really make a difference, but AZI, I suppose. Well, that's the thing about these small cappers. You go from one to the other, and you just got to find the one that works. So halted, 472. Ooh, it's actually tapping down 466. Oh no, these are bad prints. Those are bunk. Looks like it would have halted here at $4. So 466 is the current tap on AZI. It was CCTG, that was the one. It's just already pivoting from CCTG, which is still halted. I guess that's a 10-minute halt over there on CCTG, which to me shouldn't have even halted in the first place. It actually doesn't make any sense to me. It barely even moved off of the open. That's the thing about, we've seen this before. I know there's specific rules about the halt bands and the levels, how far it has to go. But I've seen some funky stuff off of the open, where you think it should halt and it doesn't, and then you think it shouldn't have halted and it did. Just be careful out there in small capper land. So BM&R, instead of IBIT, ends up the first thing shorted, because it's the one that gave the pop and the fade. I want low of the day here, as the market still very inside there, Sean. Like, it's the NASDAQ. Did it move this little off the open yesterday?
Yeah, I don't think it was a very crazy futures day. I mean, the futures were up all day, but here we go, man. It's too bad we didn't get that reload, or not the reload, the ad right there at 20s, and it's really silly that we didn't get it, but there it goes right now. Okay, here we go. We're starting to go again. Nice move there for Apple to the downside, and yeah, we're kind of doing it again right now with AAPL. We're now in the money 75 cents, and we had to hold this one against ourselves a little bit there, but, trying to use a little bit. Look, we only had a unit and a quarter there. We were trying to get two right there when it popped up, and like I said, I missed it. So only one person to blame here, but as there always is. But at least we made this trade, and we're short now Apple, and we're going to give it a couple minutes to see where this name eventually settles down. I mean, why not just put a bid? Okay, well, now we're starting to go, man. We're almost hitting our goal here. Just one little quick trade on Apple, but more to go, right? We don't want to just necessarily get out. If I think the market has a chance of flushing here today, then down goes Apple right now pretty significantly. So yeah, man, so far so good here on a move lower for Apple downside. Now $1 almost in the money. So yeah, man, regardless of what the market's doing, if you're trading here, we've got some good ones on. We want to thank everybody, for continuously watching there. There it is. That's your official hot dog. Watch out for those glizzies, Neil. Right there, $1.05 now in the money on Apple. And take a little bit off, right? So that's what we've been doing down here in 298 land.
298 land for Apple. If it gets to that 290, I want to be stink bidding.
Yeah.
Some dip buy there in Apple. Tesla, I guess Tesla's not really coming down in here yet. If it breaks 411, I want something underneath 410. As you can see, there was a nice 400 level but I kind of like 405 as well. So if this one continues to drop down, you will see me at some point try the long here in Tesla, but it is really losing the bid. I want to try a reload on BMNR, but the first things first, I like Bitcoin better, so I am still sitting VWAP here on Bitcoin. So we got to VWAP already on BMNR, and I'll continue to short pops into the high, but I am still sitting for that initial play here in our good friend IBIT. And Intel's, I thought we'd get more out of Intel today. It hasn't broken the low. It obviously didn't break out that 114 yet. I'll probably cancel the 114 once we're through 112. I don't want it shooting up straight $2 and I end up like punching a high or something like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna cancel it now. There's no need having that 114 breakout. Ends up being the absolute top here on this bad boy. Kind of disappointing. Close, but no cigar for Intel on the break.
Here's a big name, man. AZI is now just opened up right now. AZI, $5. Watching out for this one. Incoming now, you know, nice move higher. I don't know if we got the story on this, AZI, but it is a nice runner there to the north side now. So those of you that are, you know, in small cap land, AZI, 70 million shares already. AutoZone International. Is this another Chinese name? 4 million short float. 4 million shares out. Short float non-existent right now. AutoZone is a global product, affordable in China. Yeah, there it is. So auto services and products, whatever that means. Maybe they clean your car for you. But AZI on the move. Holy crap! This is starting to become something special right now. There goes Apple. Down goes Apple right now. Huge move. Now we're $2 in the money, and the energy level has returned once again as there goes Apple to the downside, man. $297.50, $2 in the money on this one as we're right back in to those lows, man. We didn't have it on our note today, but we've got it in the account. It's Apple downside as the market blasts, and it's Apple going lower. That's how you know you've got something right there. Let's bid some 50s, and now we'll just wait for lower, man. From the high of the intraday to the low right there, it's Apple, and it's see you later on AAPL. We've got this one. So far, so good. You're here, Others Inc. We're here too. 297 and change. Glad to see all of our friends in today. Deshaun here trading for you live on Trader TV Live. Shout out to Jesse.
Now you're gonna have to get Watson.
Yeah, I have to get Deshaun Watson, yeah.
I would really not do that though.
I have Shador, but I don't know who's gonna start over there, but we'll see.
Shador.
Maybe neither is worthy of anything, maybe. Shador. Yeah, I have Shador.
Bet you an Apple share Shador starts.
I hope so.
Well, as Apple gets lower, the market, you said the market's blasting. I actually looked over, it's all the SPY. So I'm short both the crypto names. We finally got to VWAP on IBIT, and you know, sort of the same thing here, the lower high holding over on BMNR. So both of those the same thing. But wow, it's wild. We do see a lot of strength in the SPY versus the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's at the highest. Oh, really? Now you're just not going to load? All right. 3 times? There we go. Finally. The SPY looking way stronger than the NASDAQ, almost a full point to the upside. You just look at the way that this sucker is going, and you got to think about where the leadership is going to be. Like, you're only now breaking out the top on the NASDAQ, but the SPY has been doing it absolutely no problems. Some of the chip names, if you're out there, NVIDIA's holding 210, but it's not doing too much more with it. Come on, Intel. Yeah, Intel's starting to lose the bid a little bit. So it might end up being a trend break. The opening rush was probably never going to see the 107 level.
What is sparking this NASDAQ?
I was just looking across the board to see what was going on in the NASDAQ. Nothing crazy on Nvidia. Apple, you already showed to the downside, so it's not going to be Apple. You've got Alphabet, which it was good news for Alphabet from WDC. Right, like the partnership continued. I think it's what everyone wanted to hear. They're up 2 points, but it's not pressing the highs. I want to see what's breaking out the highs right now. It's got to be something.
We have to go. Neil doesn't have his earpiece, and we're going to go to Adara.
Okay.
Klarna with just an incredible 3-minute chart here for the first 15 minutes of today's session. Klarna up here after earlier today announcing that they're going to be offering high-yield savings accounts in the U.S. to take on banks. So KLAR, again, high-yield savings account offerings in the U.S., sending this one to the upside. Other stocks in the banking space are on watch. I heard Joe mention JP Morgan. They're to the upside. JPM and Wells Fargo, just 2 of the many companies that are appearing at this Morgan Stanley Finance Conference today. You can find more of that list on Exit to TV Research because these were featured in our daily calendar for the day. So, again, finance names on watch here as some executives from these companies attend a conference. Back to you.
Some of these stocks don't stop. Yeah, and again, in JP Morgan, but I'm just focusing, Apple's now $2.50 from that top. So the average price keeps changing because it goes first in, first outs and stuff like that. So you guys know what we're talking about here with Apple. Day made on one trade. So that's it. You know, if you guys are trading there in your own accounts, you know, I hope you guys are having some good success. But we've sort of made that goal here, and we're pretty happy about it. So there's a nice bounce up of $1 right there out of nowhere, right? So I was just going to say, I've traded, okay, I have about 25% left of this trade right now. We did not expect it, obviously, to make this kind of a move down. So we're pretty good on it. We'll wait to see if it comes back up to $2.99 before we maybe make a decision on what to do here with Apple. But yeah, man, I mean, another one. So I did not dip by JP Morgan, but we've been talking about it. And that was a good one. This is the largest holding for myself in the financials. And now we get right back to where we need to be. It just needs to break now. So good little bottom area to, to bottom pick in. And that's where we kind of liked it down there. I did think that, a slip up gets us back into this area. We can check out names like SoFi and all that. But as, the industry absorbs sort of the interest rate environment, we can wait to see what winds up happening with JP Morgan. XLF, if you want to get involved in anything, the XLF, the ETF here for the banks, very, very popular thing to trade and something that you may have wanted to look at there, but bouncing off your 50-period moving average. So, not going to move as much as the other banks, of course, as an individual name, but XLF doing the best job it can as an ETF. We like that one. I'm not in that ETF. But not a bad one. And there goes SoFi, a name that I'm definitely in. We bought some 18s, we bought some 16s. That means my recent buy is about here. But we also bought some 22s. I don't know if it was 20 or 22, but at the end of the day, I'm holding out for SoFi to break a little bit longer throughout this trade. Nice move higher in there, up 2.5%. Look at the NASDAQ going. The ES also got caught up. Remember, earlier on, the NASDAQ was only up 0.5%, or was up 1%, and the ES was only up 0.5%. So that catch-up trade has really happened right now. And just looking back to see what's moving around, AMD, SMR, I mean, Walmart probably on this.
Looking pretty solid.
Robinhood, yeah, that would make sense with, well, if you get a stabilization there. But yeah, Walmart, that broke up through to 120 again. So that was pretty good. But there's Walmart falling back in right now to 119. So we can definitely have a quick look over there.
Oil futures are tanking, by the way.
Oh, okay, well, that would make sense then.
Yeah, but I don't know if something just hit. I didn't hear anything, but we just had a pretty heavy candle there on USO, and then right through 131. I got my earpiece in. It's probably just overall weakness, but I saw silver spike, silver and gold. Like, look at the move back in silver. IBIT's holding. That's the thing. IBIT's actually, it's just weaker than BMNR. So we're able to get some out in VWAP, but I'm going to get out of BMNR. Like, look at the difference between BMNR and IBIT at this point. Like, we're able to get shorts into VWAP, but now that's a bull flag, whereas at least IBIT for the open has held VWAP, still putting in lower highs. It's just Bitcoin proper is probably the way to go in here. But I do like this Robinhood. So if Intel's not gonna be a bit of a thing, Robinhood back into VWAP. Good uptrend, breakout on the 15-minute for a pivot. Like, look at this clean break through 85.70 or so. So pull back into prior highs. I wanna go dip buy hunting on Robinhood. And the good thing about Robinhood is it's doing this with Bitcoin doing nothing. Bitcoin is still weak, and Robinhood's finding a way to be able to break out. That's the disconnection I wanna see for Hood. Candidly, I own Hood shares myself. Still some issues with the mics. We're working on these mic issues,
the mics
everybody.
aren't working well when Andre thinks I'm muted
What? That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all.
Maybe it's my battery.
Deshaun.
You should just take it over there. Deshaun has.
See, the problem, here's the thing, right? The Katina man has the good mic. Deshaun doesn't necessarily treat the mic with the respect that it deserves. You know what I'm saying? Deshaun's out here just acting all buck wild with the mic, and that's how it is sometimes. Because you can't tell Deshaun what to do and how to treat the equipment. Deshaun's gonna do what Deshaun's gonna do.
Yeah, that's my wife.
And then it is what it is. Yeah, so look, the strong market in here, crypto week, market strong. USO's catching a little bit of a bid here, everybody. I keep looking over at Intel to see if it's gonna start catching a bid. It's just not. So we're still falling here on Intel. Do want to try to play a trend break, but the 114, I had this one set up. Like my top trade was supposed to be a 114 break. The level was right. It just didn't break out. So now I have to wait for a patient little dip by as well. Maury says that Nike is making some power moves. Really?
Because Deshaun.
Well, apparently it is. What's going on?
Supports Nike.
Nike is flying today.
Right now, but whether or not you are riding with me, there is Apple right now, right back into the lows. So yeah, man, we did take another piece there. On, it's still not working. Okay.
I'll say it. Apple, I have to chart up. We can get over to it. Apple down back into the lows as they continue the sell-off on WDC. I'm telling you, Deshaun is an absolute problem. Next thing you know, the lights are going to come off, and then we'll be getting some good on the side. And, well, I mean, you could you slide a little something across the table, and then we'll hook you up. You know how Deshaun likes to do up in this bad boy. But look, with the market absolutely flying back in here, I want to shout out everybody that's pointing out that Meta is making a crack for that $600 level. Come on, Meta. Meta, your problem. But if you can hold 600, then I think we've got a little bit of a reprieve here. Test. Actually came in thinking it could be a continuation, but it wasn't breaking 580. But this 600 is huge for Meta. It's going to be in a world of trouble if they get under there.
So
finally,
now we have a solution because now I have, look whose mic I have.
What?
Brendan's mic. So if I have Brendan's mic, that is the guaranteed the one that's going to work 1,000% right there. So we've got Brendan's mic on right now. Hopefully that works. Over to Adara for right now as Apple at day's low here. Worth buying, I think, maybe in the long term. We'll have a look at that later, and we will talk about it. But for right now, it's Adara. What's up?
USO to the downside. White House official, I'm just seeing this as of about a minute ago, coming out here saying that there are talks on an agreement to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. Apparently, these talks are, quote, achieving positive results. Now, we know this is typically what we hear from the U.S. Iran is willing to surrender its nuclear capabilities, and then Iran denies these reports. If we get anything else, I will let you know. But either way here, guys, USO to the downside as the U.S. claims that their talks to get Iran to stop having a nuclear weapon are going well. Back to you.
Thanks, Adara, for all of that. Okay, yeah, we're working through everything. It looks like we are going to be good to go over on this side. So thank you, everybody, for your, appreciation of us working through these issues. So we're going to get back to the market, though, right away. Yeah, so Apple off day 2 there. I mean, yesterday, day 1, if we're going to talk about an event that happened and not really well received. As Sharif had mentioned there, the new rollout has happened. So, if you are on iPhone 17, I believe, you can get some of those new iOS features, which just includes a better operational Siri. Apparently, they showed some pretty good examples yesterday. Yeah, no, it's easy. It just says like, hey, what did Neil email me about last week, and it'll find it for you. So it's just kind of stuff like that. I don't think it's anything revolutionary, of course. So we'll have to wait to see what exactly the story is with.
You know what's really useful?
Yeah.
So when it's a perfect tool for that busy executive out there who maybe doesn't remember the fantasy football bets that he lost and what he owes at the draft, and so then he can look it up and then just say, okay, I have to do 100 burpees.
Right, easy to find that.
Yeah, that kind of thing, and that person knows exactly who they are, and of course,
that person's not watching. I don't think.
Of course, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that we get this moment. We'll clip it, and then we can send it to him.
I thought the burpees were getting done. I didn't think there was any problems.
Until I see that man do 100 burpees.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to happen? He's probably going to do like 75 of them before anybody comes, and then he'll do the 25.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
I don't know. I think he's a man of his word. We'll see.
And by the way, again, we're working on the issues, and for the shotgun mic thing, trust me, we've tested the shotgun mics. These are actually overall.
Fabian, remember we showed you guys last week? We had a huge mic pointing right at our faces.
They're not there anymore.
Over there. But yeah, shout out to the team over here.
Now the market's coming down.
Yeah, and now the market's coming down, and now we're $4 almost in the money here. As it's just too bad that we didn't get another load right there. We only got one, and we were looking for a little bit more. We got some at 300. I was waiting for $300.25, but that never. It did come in, but I didn't have an offer there. It was silly because I just was, it was really ripping against me, so I was uncertain. But there it goes again. Definitely a nice play for the Apple short. And we're getting more and more out of this one. And I have unfortunate news to tell you. I have 12% left, so it's not like it's a huge one coming through there again. But Microsoft, maybe potentially a bleed down in some of these names. Now, I don't really think Microsoft, deserves to be down too far, but it is where it is. And there's 411. right now for Microsoft. So there's the bump back up. And we talked about why I thought this name might be good. We have OpenAI IPOing soon, and they're going to be 27% of OpenAI. So Microsoft, you know, an instant cash windfall there for MSFT at some point there. But Palantir, I mean, I'm just looking through some of the notes right here. Palantir pulling back into VWAP, that's a possibility as I'm going through the scanner. SMR also. So I actually don't mind this take here. The only thing is the market right now is bouncing, and we've now gotten a nice, even lower move. I'm going to take out another piece right here on Apple. I mean, look, it is what it is. We're now almost at a decent level here today for ourselves. It's everything that I'm making today, tomorrow, the next day, it's not really going to matter because I'm going to be putting on probably 100 times the risk into the SpaceX IPO. I really believe in that. So we're going to wait to see what winds up happening on SpaceX Day. But here comes Tesla also, man. Talk about SpaceX, talk about Tesla. This is coming right back in now. We looked at 410 earlier, and I mean, now it's $4 in the money on Apple, and we're kind of doing it there. But I'm looking at Tesla and wondering if it's worth a shot, or do we wait for maybe yesterday's close? I'm not going to sit at 410 anymore. I know I wrote that down, and so many times I say, why didn't I take something I wrote down? But I just want to wait to see if we can get back into this area, maybe 409, and start to look at that. I know it's only $1. It might not make that much difference to many of you, but you know, for me, it's the difference between stopping out and not. So I'm just going to wait. We'll take another 296 there on Apple, as you know, if you could told me that we would have got 315 minutes ago, and right now we're getting 296, we would take that. So there's Apple to the downside, getting less and less. We now have 10% left on Apple, exactly 10%. So, you know, so far so good on that one. We just got to hopefully wait for a little bit of a lower move here on AAPL.
Speaking of lower moves, you're not getting one yet on Cerebras.
Okay.
It just caught a bid at 220. Well, look, it tanked 10% from the open, but it is starting to get back into VWAP. So we told you what we liked. It was a 250 fail break. Obviously, it didn't come anywhere close to that. So continuation is going to have to be somewhere in the 234 to 236 range. So between this close support and the volume weighted average price. So the first shot likely coming in this next candle. It's only 10 o'clock, so we still have the opening range to work with. IBIT's still doing the same thing as before. It's just holding VWAP, depressing to the lows, been scalping inside the range and holding for the bottom as this continues to be relative trend down. But I like this Cerebras. And again, this is an IPO that did not go well unless you were trading it for the first 10 seconds.
Right.
Actually, I think it halted faster than 10 seconds.
Wow. I know, I couldn't believe that when you told
It was
me.
maybe 3 to 5 seconds, something like it. And then it went to the halt band. And then you're right into the halt band in 15 seconds. It halted, and then that was the best you could have ever gotten. But it's caught a huge bid. I'm just not completely convinced with this one just yet. So looking for a close underneath VWAP on this 3-minute, and then we can try to grab that short. And wow, some of those small cappers for you guys out there.
They need to go to Adair. But
okay.
I just wanted to say one thing quickly here. One of the best calls I've made over the last little while is this Lululemon long. I mean, there it goes up to 122 again. I said kitchen sink quarter, let it settle down. There it goes to the upside, Lululemon. More than the 3-day rule, you know. I mean, now it's finally starting to go, but nice callback for Lululemon. Over to Adair numbers.
We just got these numbers here, 4.17 million here for existing home sales. That's above the forecast of 4.07 million and the prior print of 4.02 million. Wholesale inventories month-over-month revision exactly in line with estimates, 0.6% versus 0.6% expected. Existing home sales change 3.2%, well above estimates of 1.1%. Wholesale sales 2% versus 1.2% expected. As you can see, I'll pull up the market here. Not too much of a reaction on this print. We did get this push higher here in the NASDAQ, pulling it all the way back down. S&P 500 looking pretty similar. Let's see if we can continue to push higher. Here is Apple, AAPL, continuing to drift to the downside on WWDC Day 2. We know that the Worldwide Developers Con was not well received by traders yesterday, despite some Siri AI announcements. Today, this sell-off does, in fact, continue. AVGO was on watch earlier today. This has been a super choppy chart. We know that they announced a $35 billion platform here, at least the first tranche valued at $35 billion, backed by the likes of Apollo and Blackstone, and involving participation here with Anthropic. So lots of AI catalysts on watch. INTC also on watch. They had a Cadence tie-up today and reports of a Google and Nvidia tie-up for yesterday. So keep an eye on these AI-related plays as we send you back over to Sean and Neil.
Adair for that.
Maybe Intel's trying to catch a bid.
Ooh, yeah, actually, I liked Intel down there. What did I write down? 111. 11, 110, what's it at?
And we've had like 3 or 4 consecutive holds here. Yeah, this one looks like it's trying to break the trend. It's held the bottom at 111.5 for about the last 10 minutes, and it's trying to break. Ooh, you can't draw a trend line that disgustingly, Neil. It doesn't look very clean at all. There we go. If it needs to take at about 112. Just as I was saying, this looked like it was good for potential trend break. You're right back underneath. So yeah, the waiting game continues over there for Intel. It just doesn't. The buyers aren't there. The ES is bouncing VWAP. The Nasdaq's looking a little bit relatively stronger. You're just not really seeing the juice on Intel yet. So I can be patient. It's only 10 o'clock. Sometimes you get these 10:30 bottoms or 11 o'clock, and that'll be even better. But Bitcoin still, we'll just put a bid there at the low of the day, and then we're going to refresh this one or reload this one, I suppose, back up at those highs, and we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, just because you want something to be along, you really don't want to force it. And I guess the buyers aren't very exuberant about Intel. After yesterday's big move, I mean, the real strength is over here in something like an Alphabet, as it's holding onto a bull flag above VWAP, continued partnership with Apple, which is obviously one that's worked out for both sides quite a bit. But the two stocks there couldn't be any more different than they are today.
Yeah, I'm a little speechless here. 450 now in the money on Apple, and just trying to run this thing back down in. We're going to get a 295.50 or so fill, hopefully, and there it is. So, okay, there it goes downside. I hope you guys are following along a little bit with this one, and you caught a little piece of Apple, right? I mean, downside down 2%. I think it can go a little lower, but we are obviously starting to cover. Was not expecting such a huge move, and our job here is to make money. So today, money. All right, and same as yesterday. We had a great day yesterday as well. Shout out to Joe. Shout out to everybody that's here with us now today as Neil is back in the building. All right, Pete, again? Yeah. Oh, come on, man. I thought we had the magic mic over here with Brendan's mic. Oh, boy. But, okay, oh, boy. There it is, man. Pavs, more super chats. Get us new mics. But nice move down. Just joking. There's PAVS. I mean, we had a nice little run on this yesterday. 67 million shares here today. Trying to get back into this 450 area. Now, wow. Apple just made another leg lower, man. We just got 295. Like, I can't even talk about other names here because we're into this one, and it is just a cruiser right now is Apple. But there's that AZI, you know, another name that, you know, we'll wait on it and see what winds up happening here for AZI. But again, a pretty nice move here for this name, up 300% today. And a halter just now, CCTG. We had talked about that earlier. CCS Technology now halting again. I see a couple multiple halts. Oh, no, maybe, no, yeah, 958. Yep. Yeah. So it just open halt right here. CCTG right now trying to find some kind of a bid underneath it. And
halted at least 5 times.
Yeah, and I mean, we halted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, every single time on the way up here. CCTG. So maybe we have, I mean, Adair, you can always come in with a story on any of these things because
there's no story in CCTG. There was no story in AZI earlier, which I tried to come in with. AZI, at the very least, has rallied in the past. CCTG is one that I believe is new to me. Last story I found in it was 4 months old.
All right, yeah, so here we go, man. Right now, short float is just 4%, but the float is 3 million. That's the interesting thing here with CCTG. So, yeah, not much going on with this name other than short float as far as we can see, and multiple halts over and over and over again. So
I think the issue with this is the band. Wow, the halt band's way too tight on this. So it's basically halting when it's doing 20 or 30 cent moves, which is absolute nonsense, but it is what it is. I think we're about to lose. The NASDAQ cannot possibly hold this. It could, but it doesn't look like it's likely to hold this bid. You're holding under VWAP. Apple's probably bleeding a little bit too much for this to hold up versus the SPY, and you're just starting to drag everything down with it, unfortunately. Crypto just hit the low, so we just broke the low of the day there. I'm gonna continue basically just short pops in this. I don't wanna force the issue on Intel at this point. So every time we get a pop, we're gonna short, and we're gonna hold till we close in this gap. Maybe Tesla finds something. Intel is catching a bit of a bid, but every single time that I've wanted this one to hold breaking the trend line, oh, here we go. Now it's got the confirmation candle. Okay, we'll take our first shot at that 112 here. Well, hopefully the players dwell, because the players have been selling for the last 15 to 20 minutes or so on this open here today.
It's too bad. I mean, we had written down, oops, now you got to turn off Sia's mic in my ear, if that's possible. Now I have Sia mic. Hopefully Sia can come and she can take it away from me and I can get my mic back at some point there. But okay, there's Apple making that move lower. But okay, I want to say this about you, Jay Lee. And the thing is I agree, man, 100%. You know, it's difficult. So it looks like I took too many early outs. Yeah, you think? There on Apple all the way down. But it's been a successful, you know, roadmap for me to do stuff like that. And it just goes like, maybe I need to like not have the low sort of ideas of saying to myself, I'm only going to get out like 4 or 5 times, you know, and sort of maximize it at that and then pick and choose my spots instead of just getting out on the way down in. We can get out of pretty much any amount of board lot that we want. Even a board lot's 100 shares. We can, you know, trade over that, under that, whatever. So, you know, there are lots of opportunities to get in there. If you guys knew the share size that we're trading with, it'd be a little bit of a different story. But the idea is watch out for the patterns and take the outs and the ins however you can. I mean, it's the same way we talk about basically the long-term account. Some people will dollar cost average at certain levels. And it's just, I've been here for way too many years. And I did start as sort of a penny stock trader. And I graduated in the very first month I traded. I was able to graduate, which as far as I know is a record. But, you know, that's something there. And that was back in 2002, 2003. So it was a hell of a long time ago. So I started by just scalping and catching pennies. And I like the terminology that Joe uses where it's like you're stepping over dollars to take pennies or something like that. And I feel like that's a mistake that I've made, but I'm now trying to get a little bit better at it. So we did hold. I mean, when we were down here, we still had 25%. So that was pretty good. And then all these outs now. So these are kind of smaller outs. They're not like 10% each out or we would be out already. So, you know, it's just, I think that's the big thing is execution. And trying to figure out where to put the orders, what prices are right, because the price is wrong, you know, sometimes, and you got to make sure that you hit your trade when you see the trade there, and try to follow some of the rules, right? I mean, I never used to even trade like this until the show happened, and so now we're trying to get better at some of the formats that we're using, including, you know, how many shares is the right amount of shares to use on a stock like Tesla? What about the kind of day it is? What's happening here? Is it a risk on day, risk off day? Does it require you to use, you know, more or less shares? And so there's just little things like that that I'm trying to battle with every single day. But that's the life of a trader, right? There's reasons why I also have no hair. And it's just kind of those things where I'm always thinking about this business. I'm always thinking about trading. And it does drive me crazy, but it's been obviously a very successful venture. And we're pretty proud of everything that we've been able to do here live for you guys on the show. But more and more and more notes, more and more help is great. So put that in there. Email me, message me on Twitter if you have any ideas of how we can improve our executions. I still thought someone said options would be awesome because then I wouldn't have as many outs, but hopefully that happens eventually, as Neil just mentioned there. All right, Adara over here at the big desk one more time.
Hi guys, let's talk SOFI and Zoom. I'll start here with SoFi on watch. Nice push to the upside. I looked at this chart because I just saw apparently the Trump administration coming out with a headliner announcement here saying they're simplifying student loan repayment. Good look here for SOFI. I want to mention here Zoom as well. ZM currently at session lows, shows no signs of stopping, but one to keep an eye on potentially later today as the information reports that Anthropic has a new version of a Mythos class model coming later today. This is called Claude Fable. And again, Zoom invested pretty heavily in Anthropic back in May of 2023. That investment has only ballooned since, so keep an eye here on ZM. Potentially later today if we do get that Claude Fable announcement from Anthropic. Back to you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so
the settings are probably fine until you're able to log in. Yeah, so Neil doesn't have access to Adara right now.
That's
so
all right.
I kind of a call back there. I will make it, okay, Andre? You just let me know if we have to do any of that. Okay, so that's what's happening now. Let's take a quick look at the broader market. I mean, we always like to look at the US dollar first because to see if we do get that sort of confirmation of what's happening in the broader market as opposed to what's happening in the equity market. And of course, when we talk about that, it's the US dollar. So really not much going on right now. Sometimes if we get a huge move up in the US dollar, you will see the NASDAQ move down. So it's kind of inverse there. But right now, we're not really seeing too much there in the US dollar. And we didn't have a crazy amount of numbers today. We only had, if I double check, it was at 10 o'clock. Adara did release those for us. Release the hounds. It was existing home sales for May. They were weaker than expected, the home sales there in May. Let me have a double check. Yeah, pretty mid, pretty
Home
mixed.
sales stronger, existing home sales stronger month over month here. Wholesale sales change month over month stronger. Wholesale's inventories dead flat.
Okay, so a little bit of a review there. So nothing that sparked any interest from Adara. So we will pass on, assessing these numbers and where we are with those. But yeah, that's a little quick look there at what's going on. So I would think that Tesla, again, we've seen it. Okay, here it comes right into 408. So this is a pretty interesting level that we had talked about there into this zone. So I think we could try to buy this against, and this is the problem what I was talking about with shares, right? It's how many shares do we actually sit around and use now that we get this kind of a play? So we just tried to bid 10s there, we missed it. Now we're chasing this name higher. So unfortunately it does come in right into our, yeah, go. Right into our target.
There's a few people that have asked what's going on with ONDS. Is there news on Ondas? And if you're down 3 or 4% today, you have to consider, like, the market was up and has just given up a very big topping tail. So I haven't seen specifically any news on Ondas today, but this was a stock that was down the last couple of sessions, and we're getting a pretty hefty reversal overall. Like, if you look at this type of a candle on the futures, overnight, like yesterday's highs fail break, and then we're heading back lower. And then remember that the NASDAQ is even worse right now. So there's going to be a lot of sympathy, I guess flushes for lack of a better word. So it's just a lot of weakness overall in the market this morning. And there's some places that have been better than others. We talked about Google, and we talked about, I think it was Nike was doing pretty good. But ONDS, no news. Following with the market, and these types of names are just, when the market's down, pulls back 1%, they can pull back 2 to 5, 5 to 10. Like, that's just par for the course. We have a super chat here from Nicole here. What is going? I just mentioned Nike with some relative strength. Coffee for one person. Good morning, brothers from another mother. Appreciate you for sure. You know what? This one, somebody's buying 42s on Nike. And it's been holding this level. Remember when Lulu was reporting, I was like, yeah, well, if Lululemon does anything to the downside, it's probably a chance to get Nike off of the lows one more time. It just looks like some kind of a technical bottom where there's just not enough sellers anymore. The stock has been so badly beaten up, and people are believing that potentially there could be a turnaround, but it seems to have just found a nice little home off the low. So triple bottom on the daily, I think, is a good spot for this bad boy. I just don't know if it can do the real breakout, which is above 48. More of a scalp trade until proven otherwise. Still gonna hang around here. The market seems like it's going to go red. So there haven't been any pops lately on iBid, like it's still just trending down, but I was gonna hit the side of the field, my stream deck's not working. Cerebras is already back near the low. So it did curl off VWAP in here and then heading back into the lows, down 3.5% for these. So there's a lot of dumping going on. I wouldn't just pack it on ONDS for everyone out there. They're not the only ones catching strays this morning.
Yeah, no, Apple, this name is a lot more dramatic than I even thought. We do have a new position alert right here, and that is with Tesla. This may just fall off. I mean, the way this market is going right now, not great, as there's, okay, oops, sorry, wrong screen. There's Tesla. So we're looking at Tesla right now back to flats. And I was just going to use this 08. If we break 08, then we can get out. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're long right here, right now at 409. So you see the positions in there, 408.96. So we're flat on this. If I don't like it, I can easily get out. But we're going to wait and give it a shot, right? Let's see how far this one wants to go. I mean, look what Apple's doing now, down 3%. And we did first tweet this out, down 2.5%. We did tweet this out earlier when we first took it. So, so far so good here on Apple, as the continuation play is definitely hitting the screens right now. Down 2 and a bit is Apple. We were gonna do it, and then we threw back over to Adara there quickly, but I just wanted to see what was going on in this broader market. Whoops, there's all these ads, man. I should maybe just upgrade to premium, but then why would I do that when I don't use it? All right, so there's Google. So look what this looks like today, right? Despite us being, most of the money is being made short right here, and we're waiting all the money now because I'm losing on this Tesla long. But right into here, technology services, Meta, Amazon, Walmart down. There might be some opportunities there. There goes Tesla, by the way. And we are not going to let this name bleed us out. So it broke. We've made some mistakes of trying to chase, bless you, trying to chase Tesla before. We're not going to do that now, man. Obviously, there's something broken here in Techland. We had wrote this down that we thought Techland was in trouble. And it looks like that is what's happening here today. for everything that is related to tech. As we're getting to the downside right now, NASDAQ was up almost 1 and a bit percentage points there. And look at this, man, very dramatic fall back in for the broader market on the NASDAQ and the ES for that sake. But it was led by early, some of these financials that were going to the upside, and we'll have to double check on that. JP Morgan releasing more AI bots. They were talking about that. That's coming out. Look at the success here in the financials. It's not always something that you have to look on this side. You know, there are opportunities elsewhere. Eli Lilly, Thermo Fisher, upside as well there. Today, some of the consumer non-durables we've looked at, you just mentioned some Nike there, up 4%, so that's going to be a trade. And then Lululemon, man, we mentioned Lululemon. That's trying to pop through as well on better than expected move. Not better than expected numbers, but that move catching a little of traders offside probably a bit. But yeah, there's the move down on Tesla, man. We tried the long. We were able to get a little bit out there at Ford. That was almost $1 on our first piece. But wow, now we're really starting to go to the downside, man. Glad that we had talked a little bit about risk off, but I did like the longs today. So funny that our best trade here is a short on Apple. But here we go, man. The TQ is now really breaking. We had talked about going long here at 77. Man, that came and went real quick. There's a downside move now. As this market's falling all over itself, going red. Big red right there.
I'm glad I didn't. I was looking at Robinhood on VWAP. This is the thing. It's a line on a chart. Like, did it bounce? Was there even like an attempt for this sucker to buy off VWAP? Not even a chance. And we just went red on Robinhood. So even like the strong names are starting to look incredibly weak. I want to find something, if I can, that hasn't really gone yet back into the downside. And maybe you can find some relative strength. You know the first thing that came to mind? I don't even know why it was Rivian, but it was because you guys were talking about Rivian Day. 6% down on Rivian and continuing to go. The Russell.
We need an auto segment with Randy
The
over here.
Russell has a
Rivian.
complete. These guys call it a Christmas tree. I don't think it's a Christmas tree because no one decorates a Christmas tree that way. But either way, that's exactly what the Russell is doing in here. There's just not a lot of people on the bid right now. So if you're looking for longs, maybe it'll be something in USO. Have to look for this 7,400 on the SPY, like maybe, or on the ES, sorry, that could be a little something for us to catch a bit of a bid. But we're getting pretty close to, if we don't head all the way down to close the gap in here on IBIT, now? Then it'll be a trend break that will trail out of this one because we're getting close to that time of day.
This is now, like, I never thought that Apple would be doing this, obviously. But now you're down $7 here on Apple as the S&P 500 futures continue to fall. The NASDAQ futures continue to fall. As here we go, man. We said there'd have to be some money raised, and it looks like they're doing it on the back of Apple right now. Did not expect that. Expecting names that were getting hit to be Google, Meta, names that actually went to the public markets to raise, right? And right now, Google's actually doing okay as opposed to the rest of them. Meta 593, that's lost 600 now as well, down 1.3% as we continue to go. There it is. So in the North attack, they carried out Iran was preparation. Much more significant and heavy strikes. So I guess the market not liking what they're hearing right now out of Iran, Iraq, and the Middle East as we continue to go. But we do have a new position alert. We hit the sirens. We're just going to wait to see if Alibaba holds 120, man. We talked about that earlier. We didn't mind that kind of a level. So just looking over at the notes there, Alibaba 120. I wrote down 120.50. So the fact that we're long right here, fine by me. We'll see if that one's up holding. We got to go to Adara, but Intel breaking through that 110. So another level here for INTC that's interesting to look at. What's up, Adara?
I'm going to start with a name that is absolutely not a small cap, TSLA. They're on watch. I'm just seeing that apparently their FST supervised is now approved in Denmark with the rollout set to begin very soon. Let's take a look here at GMM. This name actually on our watch list for the small caps. This has a now $11 million market cap with a float of about 50 million shares. Again, this was featured on our watch list. You can read more there. But as of yesterday morning, this is a day two catalyst, Global Mofi, which is the name of this company, announced a partnership with a ByteDance unit to co-develop AI-generated microdramas. So AI-generated or AI-based series on watch here for GMM. Interesting look there. Let's take a look at AZI, ATOZI Internet. As mentioned earlier, there was no news that I could find on this. They have traded higher in the past. This is what we call a repeat offender. $308 million market cap, 4.4 million share float. Last but not least, CCTG, another name without a catalyst. Last news headline I saw for this was like 4 months old. This is CCSC Technology, $20 million market cap, float here of 3 million shares. So lots of low float runners hanging out today in the small cap space, as we saw yesterday as well. As we send you back over to Sean and Neil, do remember to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content.
Again, to subscribe.
If you hit the like and subscribe, you help CCTG get to $10 magically somehow. That's how, sometimes we just throw it out there and it actually happens up 1,000%. I only joke when something gets up 1,000% because of the way that our thing displays it. 1.01K, because anybody would write it that way. That's how I would do it. No, not even a little bit. But the bleed is really on. The only good thing for the market right now is that it's trying not to go red. Like the SPY is almost exactly at flat and catching its first bid of the day. So this is, again, key prices at the close. Close prices matter more than opening. You'll hear most traders say that. You're close enough to the gap fill on this IBIT once it lost the shelf that it's now a trend breakout, which will be 30, on IBIT it's 35 even, on Bitcoin it's like 61.8 or something like that. So pretty close to filling in that gap. It's just a matter of, I think it's really just a matter of time before you get like some kind of temporary, like midday or pre-lunch relief level. Whether or not we'll get a massive bounce off of these lows or we just find a short reprieve or something along those lines, like you're already starting to see it here. So I think it's time for that little bit of a trail out. And then if it's a short to pop situation, VWAP, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But the SPY essentially went tick red and now back into set upside. I don't know if it'll be anything for myself because Tesla didn't even get to 400 was the level I liked on Tesla when I wrote it down and sat down, but it was at 412 at that point. We hit 418. So it could be making the bounce here in front of 405 instead.
The crazy thing is, we had that super chat about APLD, and I was like, you got to watch out for that break. I thought you could get to 44 easily. Looks like we easily get to 44, but that break was a little tough because there's the break down into 44.50, so that was about a buck right there. Then it moved back into VWAP, and then the floodgates open on APLD there today. Was at one point up 14%. Pretty decent call to go short there and then use VWAP, and then there it goes right back down. So if you guys are on APLD, good on ya.
Awesome.
There's Baba. So, I mean, you know, the sticky note is working. We did not work out very well there on Tesla. What's up, Deshaun over here? Thanks, Jesse, for that as well. Very handsome. I may go and bring a do-rag in the next couple of days, and we'll see how that plays. Maybe you know what, we're gonna trade SpaceX like a gangster, so maybe we'll trade that one. There's Alibaba long 120.50. So we didn't go 121, we went 120.50 because that's just where we let it fall into, and there it is right now. We're long at what price? 120.65, so kind of in the middle there, as it has a nice bump up, but just noticing where we are right now on Alibaba, and by the way, I only have like less than 5% left on that Apple trade. So we're just gonna let that one sort of cruise. I'll show you where my out's gonna be in a couple seconds, but let's take advantage of this move higher on Alibaba and take another out. There's our 25 period moving average. So just trying to follow our own rules there. Tesla, man, I mean, at least we didn't bleed out on this name. We will lose on it. We'll lose a fraction of what we made on Apple there and trying to make it all back on Alibaba. But yeah, that was a tough road there. We thought 409 did have a chance to hold in there into yesterday's close, and that's what we did. So I'm, like I always say on the show, like I'm a simple guy trying to make simple trades. So for me, right there, that was an easy out. If it holds, great, we rip City. If it doesn't, we get out and we avoid this. So far so good there on Tesla, but we did give some back. That is for sure. Still $6 in the money on this name, and Alibaba's right here, right now. So there's another fill for us. We'll see if we can have diamond hands in case there's a move back, but I did like that area. And the only other one, Neil's earpiece is now working, but it's right into here, 85, $86. Good bounce off of 85 right there for Robinhood. So I always like it when names come in into pre-market levels and hold. So far so good there. The buyers came in and said net pas, started to buy that one back to the upside, and there shoots Robinhood. So I like that name here today. We'll have to wait to see if that works. And I think SoFi might have faded similarly. They didn't get into the pre-market, but they did have a bounce off of, what a surprise, there's your 200 period moving average. But I could still get back into Tesla here in case this market rallies. I'm not prone to maybe not getting back into this name.
I'm trying Tesla trend break if we can. I got trailed out of IBIT. It's literally the first green candle from the flush of the low. So it broke the low right here about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so ago. We trailed out about that $0.50, but Tesla's trying to break trend as we speak. So there's VWAP, there's the trend line, there's the confirmation break as we have Israeli chief of staff. Military is ready to resume fighting Iran immediately. What? Really? I, for one, am shocked because they're ready to resume fighting. They're always ready, I suppose, at this particular point. And so that's going to see, what's crazy about this is you're not even, at this point, you're not even seeing oil rise on that. Like, USO's back at the low of the day and heading lower as we speak. Adara?
I have some more details on these comments, again, from the Israeli chief of staff, saying furthermore that the recent attack in Iran was a prelude, these are not my words, these are their words, to a stronger and more severe blow, and that, quote, we will continue our operations and further damage to Hezbollah. So it sounds like this conflict is still heating up, guys. Back to you.
It's not, like I said, it's not really doing much to oil futures to bounce them higher. It's just weakness in oil. Down 3.5% is USO. And not really showing a lot of oomph. So you can't really scare it. I guess maybe you can't scare it down anymore at this point. But if it breaks the low, you would think maybe we could catch a bit of a bid, but it's not happening just yet. So I might take the L on our good friend Tesla. If we can't hold on to this 07, it's just a hair underneath. I mean, I don't use the even dollar, but it's close enough to the even that we'll try to give it under there. Again, I'm long at effectively 8, so try to give it that buck. It's $4 to VWAP. So on the way out, I'd be looking for an average of 2.5. So if we cannot hold on to this 7 area, then we got to get away from Dodge. The other place that I wanted to go to was that Robinhood. I guess Sean already showed you Robinhood holding that 85 level. I'd prefer if it had gotten to VWAP and showed a little bit more strength. It has a bit of a head and shoulders look. The more I look at it. Yeah, this needs to show strength above VWAP. I don't think this is a good force on Robinhood unless it's above the volume weighted average price. I'm going to stay away from that one for the time being, because ultimately I still think bearish on crypto. So I know it doesn't always, look, Robinhood doesn't always move with crypto, but when it's overtly weak and we have a weak day in the market, in the back of my mind, Hood has to look really, really good. So I'd rather it holding higher lows above VWAP than trying to force too much of anything. Because I'm still thinking at some point we're going to see that 5 handle again on Bitcoin. Maybe not today, but it's been asking for it for quite some time, you know? It's just not the place where the money wants to go right now. When you get the chips flying, and when you have so many growth places, right now IBIT's just not it, and something needs to change. Maybe after SpaceX it'll be different. I don't know, but something's got to give.
We have, just quickly an out here. I told you that 301 was the out on Apple, right? So it was $1 worth of an out there on that last fill. And you know, now we're $7, $8 in the money. So a pretty good R to R right now. We have held, you know, that last, we were in about 25% in this area. We've done pretty well to hold this, but I'm still going to get out on a 294 break. So if that winds up happening, we are going to be out of Apple. Just want to give that as a quick update to everybody there today. So, you know, we talked about this yesterday with Joe and looking for some dividend names. J&J with about 2.5% dividend. That's starting to move okay. JP Morgan. You know what? Let me check out what JP Morgan's current dividend is, because this name's moving around a lot. And I actually want it probably, I mean, I'm long in the, I think it was 230, something like that is where we bought it on that tariff. It was just before the tariff tantrum, but I'm not actually sure. Yeah, so it's actually under 2% right now. JP Morgan, the industry average banks 3%, but I don't know if that includes regionals. They'll be a little bit higher on the regional side of things. You pay for some safety with JP Morgan, so only 2% dividend. That's not, it's not huge enough. Like even if I drop in 10 grand there, it's $200 a year. It's not, to me, it's nothing, but it's something. And so that's the thing we always have to consider when we are looking at dividend plays, is it's better than nothing. And if you can hold on to something for a little bit of time, it does accrue, you can get the drip, and it makes a little bit of sense that way to get into some bank stocks now, because I do think the environment is pretty good for the banks right now, especially with all these deals coming to market if they are well received. And remember, Google had a great help from Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs to raise that $80 billion. They found 10 of it from Berkshire. They found the rest of it in the market so well that Amazon Meta is looking for a similar raise. So, but that was just a, you know what, Adara, did we ever find out if that came true? Because that was Financial Times. And
the Meta raise?
Yeah.
It's never been confirmed. Financial Times usually pretty accurate, or at least later they usually end up being correct, especially with these raises and types of things. So at this point, there's no reason to assume it is or isn't true because, again, I think they just said they were considering it.
All right, so yeah, because I was looking at Meta stock and I was like, it's not really reacting as if they're out in the public markets here trying to get some money. So we'll wait to see what winds up happening there with Meta. Up 1.5, you know, I mean, that's part of the story here. Like Google's up today in such a crappy market, right? Meta's down, in this kind of a market too. Microsoft, we talked about them potentially catching a little bit of a windfall with the OpenAI news. They're following the market today. But, you know, the main reason why this market continues to bleed down is this name, and we are bearish on Apple there today. It was the very first trade that we took, and actually I was so bearish on it that I was admittingly way too aggressive. I took the short at the low of the day at that time, but having a little bit of confidence in the trade, we held it all the way back to the upside before whooshing back to the downside. So we're going to be near the high of the day, P&L wise for myself, but a lot of that is to do with this trade because this trade we go bullish on. And again, a name that we wrote down off the note today, we talked about it, and I want to thank the team for bringing up Alibaba, otherwise may not have noticed it. But there's Alibaba today. Nice move down into 120. We did talk a little bit about it yesterday, noticing it today. So a good area of concern for me here with Alibaba. So we took that. Now we're trying to run it to the high side at 75 cents. So we're happy with it. My next fill is going to be at 50, which is where VWAP is. And then we'll see if it can moon a little bit higher. Let's change our Apple fill. It was going to be 94. We might as well just continue to use the 25 period moving average 293.51 to get out of that one as we put in our stop order. And now we don't have to worry about it. And we could just move on and look at something else. So yeah, so far so good here today. We just have that short, we have that long, and then yeah, the only stock that I've lost on today is Tesla. So yeah, I got to be careful with it because we gave a lot of money back on that name last week for TSLA, but it's already 10:30, so maybe the market is trying to settle down here a bit.
Did lose that 07. Like the ES is held pretty decently. It's the Nasdaq's turn now. Like the ES has held the lows. The Nasdaq is at about 29.4. Like you've got double bottom. It looks like we're about to try to go at least back maybe to VWAP or put some kind of a bid on it. But we did try trend break, couldn't hold the 407 level, but we're still in a decent consolidation for a higher low. If it confirms the higher low on Tesla, that could be one way to get a secondary long. But I also don't want to give up on Bitcoin short. You know, I got trailed out. Like the only green candle on the move was the only green candle. And then we just continue to make lows. So I trail out of it, and we're still heading lower over there on IBIT. And if it's going to drag everything down with it, then I'll go back over to BMNR. Like I pivoted from BMNR to IBIT. They both would have worked, but you know, obviously IBIT was weaker. Now BMNR's got a bear flag. So pretty simple. Like if this one hasn't broken down the way that Bitcoin has yet, and it's got a bear flag, I'll just short this into the 16.5 to 16.6 level. But I'll give Tesla potentially one more shot. I just want to see a higher low. If it continues to put in this, these lower highs, that's not enough. I want to join buyers on a day like today instead of trying to force it, and then stick to what is actually weak, which is going to be these bad boys, everything in crypto land. That AZI is actually waking up everybody. So if you're a small cap trader, AZI is really picking up in volume, almost 100 mil volume on the day. It's got high. There's a higher low. There's a trend break. If this can get above 6 at VWAP, then it gets very spicy. Just remember, oftentimes when you have a habitual line stepper, when it's made a high like that in the pre-market, it's pretty rare for it to get back and break out fresh highs. You don't see that very often. Like even if it breaks 6, you temper the expectation sometimes of how far it might go, but there's $6 worth of room from VWAP to the high. I'm sure you can find some wins above there for the AZI traders. 350%, there's a couple of these. I feel like there's gonna be more and more of these continuation plays where you're just getting excessive volume that holds up much better than pre-PDT. Pre-PDT rule. Now that that's being abolished, I think it only gets better and better for the small caps, and might have to work them back into the repertoire. This one particularly good, AZI. That other CCTG, I think it is. The problem with this, and I still can't make heads or tails of it, why the halt band is so tight, but it's effectively moving 5% and halting. which is kind of nonsensical for the halt bands. But I guess it's broken because of where this was as a penny stock yesterday. They haven't really adjusted anything. But it's going to halt every few minutes if they keep the bands where they are. Adara?
Sean mentioned these finance plays earlier today because you do have a lot of these companies, including WFC and JPM. Speaking at the Morgan Stanley conference today, AXP is another one of those companies. Great look here for this one at intraday highs, saying that their quarter-to-date billings growth is, quote, slightly stronger than Q1 for their second quarter so far. They said that their Q1 FX-adjusted billing growth was actually their strongest in 3 years, so it looks like they're going to continue that trend, saying that demand for their new cards is, quote, very strong. So strength, really the theme here for AXP as they present at this Morgan Stanley conference.
Okay, thanks, Adara. I feel like this market, I mean, again, we can talk about financials over and over again. Are we potentially trying to find a bottom? I mean, this is generally the time where, between, 10 to 10:30, where we've had like an initial flush, in the market, and now we're just trying to figure, or a rip, or whatever the move's gonna be. And now you're trying to associate it with potential support areas. So we'll definitely have a look right now to see if something can find some kind of support. I don't actually mind getting back into Tesla here, but I think it's gonna have to be on a 40, well, we've already broke that 25 period, darn it. That might have been the trade down there. Was looking at it maybe a 409 break that we sort of first thought about, so that would be a trade. But yeah, back into that 407.50 area, not horrible, but then the problem with that is how far are you gonna hold that if it breaks back down below you? So, that's an area that we'd like to see a little bit more continuation on Tesla to see if there's any sort of a trade there. Amazon, and we can work in as many small cap names as we want to. I'll still say I haven't, and we had Luis on here. He's talked about, how difficult some of these names are to trade. You're going to get it off the midday show very soon about, some of the small cap moves, and you can ask them how trading's been in these names over the last little while as well. But there's AZI now halted on a move back down in with a tap of 350. So you're caught long here. It's going to be a little bit of a problem, but we'll see what happens. I mean, 295 into 350, 360. Doesn't necessarily mean, and by the way, there's a stop out on Apple as we put some money in our pocket on that one. Now, Apple, we did take another fill at 120, 120 on BABA, so we're gonna wait for that long to sort of formulate back into itself, but AZI now halted. PAVS has been quite a nice runner there in small cap land as well. That's now halted back to the downside for just a fourth time today. 1, 2, 3, 4 now halted on PAVS as some of these names come right back in. And this one's a little more dangerous because it halted at 557 and right now is 457. So $1 down is where we're looking right now for PAVS. And hey, if it opens down here, that's VWAP. So, you could find some buyers coming right back into PAVS Quantinuum. There it is right there. Back to 60 again today. So nice move for them off the lows, right? We did have quite a nasty move lower. Their IPO price was priced at $60. It opened up at 68, then tanked from there. We had lost on day one that play. We're hoping for a different outcome on Friday with SpaceX, but that's QNT, reliving some of its glory there. Maybe it can get back up to the upside. And then the other, there's only been really two major IPOs. There's another one that was worked out, INO. That one, worked out pretty well on day one. But there's Cerebras downside again as the chip names, man. Nvidia. The only one that we were looking at early was going to be Intel. So we don't have anything on that, but there's Intel. We wrote down as the number one trade, 110. So they're trying to catch a bid now too, Intel. Maybe the market is finally settling down just a little bit here. So, all right, we can go back over to Adara. It's 10:40. We'll get an update. Then we'll come back. Then we'll try to figure out what's for lunch. And then we'll get ready for the midday madness. Oh, STAK, another name that we've been looking at over the last little while. That just halted to the downside. So a lot of small cap names, now starting to halt down in today's market. So we'll cover all of that when we get back from Adara. How about now?
Also, re-IPOs, guys, I've been doing some interesting research to see how these names perform using a couple different factors off their IPOs. So stay tuned for that, because that research has actually been really interesting and maybe not what you'd expect. I want to start here with these stock heat map, though. Lots of weakness here in energy minerals, of course, as we continue to evaluate whether or not the conflict will come to an end, as President Trump says one thing and Netanyahu's team in Israel says a very different thing. Electronic tech also quite weak here. Qualcomm to the downside to the tune of about 6%. I still haven't seen anything to explain the spike to the downside around the imbalances. If I do, I'll let you know. Corning down 4%. They got a deal yesterday. Right now, just pushing lower here, despite that Amazon contract. Apple down about 3%, Cisco down 2%, Intel, AMD, Broadcom, and Nvidia all lightly red, though you do have some strength in the likes of SanDisk, Amphenol, and KLAC. Tech services really mixed here. SaaS weakness once again. AppLovin down 4%, SaaS down 5%, not SaaS, sorry, ServiceNow, a SaaS name, down 5%, and Fortinet here down 3%. Matter of fact, all of these cybersecurity names slightly red here, but Meta and Google both green. Finance to the upside, guys. Again, that Morgan Stanley conference happening today for these banking names, so keep an eye on the sector with that in mind. Producer manufacturing generally looking pretty good, though. GEV down 2.5%. Consumer services strong, transportation strong, health services strong, process industry strong, health, technology, and retail trade, you guessed it, strong. Back to you.
There is some strength in the market. You're not going to find it in a lot of places. Nike stands out, probably is one of the better ones in here. But it's the volume is so tight and a little bit low as we get into that midday kind of session. Robinhood, oh, well, I guess not. Robinhood was making a chance. Higher low, press through VWAP was looking like it was going to be a thing. Obviously a little bit disappointing there. Intel looking for that second shot as well. It hasn't gone to, I like 107. We've seen a 108 half, so if it gets down to 107, great. I like to usually play things in 1 of 3 places. Prior highs, had this one set as a breakout trade, clearly didn't break out. Played it off the prior high trend break. Hasn't really done much with this level in here yet, although it's close to another trend break, but it's 107. That'd be that last like little salvo bottom here. As Intel's gone red with the rest of the market, it's just, nothing is really catching that bid. And as I look over crypto making another fresh low, I keep thinking BM&R is going to give me a second shot at the short. Like, there is just at no point has there been a buyer in IBIT. Off the open, like it does this weird thing. And I've been noticing this on Bitcoin. There just always seems to be this hug of the volume weighted average price at the open. Like it did it yesterday. You can see it doing it to the upside. You see it doing it here. You look at almost every single day at the open. If it doesn't immediately flush, you get this like hold of the volume weighted average price. So it's like whichever direction it is, above or below VWAP, you can just ride that for 30 minutes. But as long as it continues lower, I'm taking this second shot on BM&R. If we can't get VWAP, it's either flat bottom break or 16.5. I just haven't gotten the 16.5s. Yet. Man, I'm wishing I got those burgers yesterday.
Burgers were the best thing we've had in a long time.
They
were kind of like smashy, cheeseburgers, and they had like the Wonder Bun thing. Like it wasn't like a huge thick pickles. Yeah, they had pickles. They had lettuce. They had like a Thousand Island, like a Big Mac dressing.
Oh, come on.
They had shredded lettuce. They had tomatoes.
They even did the Big Mac dressing too. They did the Big Mac dressing is legit.
Yeah, it was, like I said, man, it's not too often where you're going to have impressed Joseph and myself there yesterday with those burgers.
You're pretty, Joe's a critic.
Yeah,
He's
Joe,
a critic.
and we liked it.
You've given some good grades, but Joe usually is tough.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was definitely a good one there. I mean, they're still burgers, and they're just kind of.
You know what we're getting
crazy.
Today. We're just gonna.
We did. Yeah, I have no idea what we're getting today because I didn't get the email. So if you have it.
No, I couldn't find it either.
Yeah, the only person that has it is Adara, and none of us. She can't even forward the email to us because it's not working for some reason. Huh? We have no idea why her forwards aren't working. But yeah, it was great. We'll see what it is today. We knew I sort of was already upgrading it when it was an American flag because I thought maybe we had some chicken situation, but we didn't yesterday, fried chicken.
That'll work.
All right, so 4:06 right there coming in. We'll be moments away until we'll talk about what's for lunch, so hold on for that. But Tesla near the lows of the day. I did want to break down a trade idea that I don't know if it's going to, I mean, it's not going to hit anytime soon, especially with this most recent flush. But I did want to start this at the 50 period, and I am sitting here at $77. Now the 50 period has turned itself on its head as the market goes lower. We did cash out of Apple trade right there. That was a 50 period trade there as well. But I did like the idea here of shorting the Qs if we got back into the 50 period moving average on a 1 minute chart. But unfortunately, we just don't get into that level there. So that was a trade that I had set up, and I have all the orders in ready to go for that, but just not hitting right now that particular opportunity. So we'll wait for it. But we are looking, just to give you guys an example, I am looking at this Alibaba trade. We're not even out of half, we're only out of 40% of it, and it was all up here. I won't be reloading just because of the disaster that's been happening, but we do have a downside push here into 120. I may put on a little bit more in this area, but it's not going to be super significant. Down here, 120.40. If we can get that bottom wick, that's 50s, we'll look at it, and we're going to give this to 120 anyways. So if this breaks through 120, we're out of Alibaba in case I don't get an opportunity to go through it. But everything's falling back in right now pretty aggressively. Walmart hit that 118 area, so that could have been something to look at. All right, PAVS opened and then I think halted maybe again as some of these names. Yeah, so there it is. We thought this was gonna open at 550 or 450. It doesn't. It opens at 5 right there. So there's PAVS now open, and here it comes right into view up. That's 450. So that's a looker there. The other one was STAK. We've seen some of that been traded lately. That just recently halted as well. That's pushing lower now into that. And then AZI was another name today, AutoZ. Auto parts manufacturer or accessory provider or something in China. AZI, huge move to the upside again as all these random tickers just continue to get pushed through. And then the big names continue to fall. Tesla, wow. Again, it's a good thing we didn't sort of hitch our wagon to this name. We've lost way too much money trying to find bids and offers in this, but we didn't find one today, and there it goes, now breaking lower. Wow, this market, man, the supply zone, where is it? Like, we knew that they'd have to go to the market. I know what the supply zone is. Yeah, where?
Adam James Abroad supplying our chat with 20 gifted memberships. Also, we also had over here, so it was 5 from Adam and then 20 from Dave Z Siamese. So we appreciate you providing the liquidity because there isn't any on the bid right now.
No.
And so it's better, at least there's a bid somewhere, and get those memberships. Appreciate you both, and thanks to all of our viewers. And if you want to be able to get the gifts, you got to be in the chat to do so and enable gifts. So hit that subscribe button. It's a subs-only chat, and enjoy. This market is enjoying selling off as we go to Adara.
Let's start with some news because everything is selling off. These spready tickers are not immune. GEV sharply to the downside. You guys might have noticed I was surprised by this one selling off compared to relative strength in that sector when we did sector watch. Turns out there is a news story on this. Morgan Stanley with a pretty negative note here on GEV saying that their view remains that gas turbine industry orders will decrease in 2027 versus the 2026 levels. This is a pretty long note here, but either way, GEV looks like some bearishness hit this stock. And certainly this company, this is down like $50 from its intraday high. Micron also at the low, so a lot of these names are just really, really weak. But let's take a look at the US dollar on this daily chart. As you can see here, DXY, second day in a row red. This uptrend is continuing, especially from these lows that we made here going back to mid-April and early May, double bottoming at that 97.6 level, this continuing to the upside. We've mentioned a couple times, some economic data did come out earlier today, nothing massive by any means, but U.S. trade balance here, bit higher than expected, negative 55.9 billion versus negative 56.1 billion, more or less flat here. It's also going to be better than the prior print of negative 60.3 billion. 10 a.m., you got existing home sales change, and wholesale sales month over month, all better than expected. Wholesale inventories month over month were exactly in line with estimates. But tomorrow and Thursday, and to a lesser extent Friday, is where you get the interesting economic data. Wednesday, tomorrow morning, CPI and core CPI month over month and year over year. Month over month, non-core and core both expecting slightly cooler, but then core and non-core year over year expecting to be a little bit hotter. So we're gonna have to wait and see how that all shakes out. Thursday morning, you're gonna get PPI. This looks in general pretty hot, especially for the year over year prints where you're expecting 5.5 to 6% for some of these core PPI prints. Let's take a look here though at the CME Fed Watch tool with all this economic data in mind. We do have that meeting on June 17th. It is 8 days from today, and it's the first meeting with new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh. Step aside, Purple Tie Powell. 98.3% is what we're expecting here, the odds of rates being held. So again, nearly 100% chance of rates being held in place. If you go forward, we're continuing to see December 2026 as our first rate hike odd. Back to you.
Not a good number there in the
That
five.
is not good.
There. We're just gonna try, man. It's 10:50 right now. We're gonna try long on Apple, on Google, but 360, like I said, this was a strong name early. Don't know if it's gonna hold. I was trying to give this one a little bit of room there to the end of this trade. So I'm gonna give it to 362 50s basically to see if we can hold this. We'll lose about $1 and change. If this is the name that wants to hold, great, we'll be in it. If not, then we could drop down, right? So that's an out there, 362.50. So we'll take a little bit more here at 363 and then just give it that one last move as it's getting hit to the low side right now is Google. So yeah, not great there. And it's Tesla's over at 400 again. So like, wow, if you're trying to get some love back into your account for SpaceX, or you do believe in some sort of a merger situation happening, that's gonna be way down the line, but Tesla right now down 1.5%, looking low. And we, like I said, we're here. We did get a 40 fill there. It did not break. We'll hopefully have a move higher here in Alibaba. We're back into the money now on this name, so maybe we can get it. If we can get a fill in the 70s, we'll try to take that. But that's what we're doing right now. It's Alibaba and it's Google, trying to see if there is going to be some support somewhere. Google was a strong name at one point. If the market does rebound, I think there's an opportunity. Okay, there, I'm at 89s. There it is. Nice move back inside now for Google. Let me take out another piece if we can, and now we'll see how far Google wants to run back there to the upside. We did take that bid, and now it's starting to go. So let's, celebrate a little bit of a win there on Google as it's trying to get back upside now. GOO, we're waiting for 364.40s. See if we get a fill upside now on Google. It's working for now.
Go, GOO. How about GO would be good enough? Go market. Like Intel did get to 107. So it's hilarious that the first order I had out was a breakout trade at $114. And we've been buying the dips, only second time, but it hit the 107, bottoming tail candle, so we're long, give it to the bottom wick. I'm looking 110. The thing is, this closed at 110.27. So on the way back, before you even get to VWAP, it has to battle with the prior closing price. So this one really is just like a $2 kind of target instead of looking all the way back into the volume weighted average price. Tesla, that $400 level people are talking about, it just seems so incredibly weak. And then I'm not completely giving up on Robinhood, but I don't want to bottom pick too many things, but Robinhood right into the lows from yesterday, and it could break an all-day trend. That's what I want to see. With Robinhood, it'll be the break of the all morning long trend line, which will be back above the 85 level. So Intel waited for our 107 to come in. We'll try to reload it here tight to 108 if it can close, confirming this candle. Like, we got the bottom tail, but actually hasn't closed, confirming the 108 yet. Now we have, so if the second one can bounce, we'll reload, play it to 110. We like to see this one battle, but the way this market is gone, I don't think you want to sit there thinking V-shape recoveries. I don't feel like a V-shape. I think you get bounces into VWAP, perfectly happy with those. I just saw a few people in the chat mentioning Oracle and realized we haven't even once gone to the visualizer. Quick look, Oracle, like everything else, same deal. AZI, these small cappers, maybe it's a PE thing, maybe it's because small cappers are some of the only things that are up today. It could be a little bit of that. I'm being real, on days where the market bleeds, if you're a long trader, sometimes the small cappers are gonna be what the longs are at. 780% on CCTG, AZI is 250. INHD is the one that has halted information requests to the NASDAQ. So when it's an information request to the NASDAQ, it could be hours, it could be days, it could be weeks. I've actually seen months before. PAVS, another small capper, RGNT, another small capper, Nvidia and Tesla make the list, Marvell going into the S&P 500, as of the 22nd, in there as well on Marvell. Down 7 points today, but it was up 13, what was it, 13, 12, 13?
No, it wasn't that much. Maybe, I don't think so.
Okay, you sure? I thought it was double digits yesterday.
I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe could have been. We're trying to put some damage on the board right now, and I think we're doing a decent job of it. There goes Google right back there up to the upside. So Yahoo, man, Google, nice move higher. We're getting some out here in this level. Hopefully we can run this thing higher. I'm almost out of half. If we get to 364.50, that will signify out of half on that trade, and then we'll wait to see if Google can mature upside just a little bit. But, you know, try to take some profit here on a long in a short day. So Google right now trying to battle back to one of the highest names for me, and so far so good. We'll take another fill there at 30. Come on, give me that 50, man. We're at 45. If we get a push right there, then oh boy, Google will actually turn into, it won't be my highest net now because of Apple, but we'll see what Google wants to do. Sharif, man, we took $7 on this Apple short. Like, this was just a crazy opportunity. I was not expecting that, that's for sure. Apple collapsing all over itself, and we'll just wait. Yeah, it was not bad. We'll just wait. We wish we would have held more, but we'll just wait to see what winds up happening there on Google as the small cap guys are ready to rock and roll. Adara, you're the only one with lunch, so are you ready? Let's go over and figure out what is for lunch, man. You've almost got Smash Bros. Burger time. All right, what do we got today? What is the flag?
I have to say, I quite enjoy being the purveyor of the lunch. I'm not even gonna lie to you, Sean. Today's flag, it's red with a yellow star in the middle, which means it's Vietnamese. So get the mental image, guys. Lemongrass chicken is our main meal. This is a drumstick.
Okay.
Apparently it is gluten-free, dairy-free, and NF, maybe that's non-fat, doesn't really matter. Our starch is a steamed jasmine rice.
Okay, okay.
And our side is fresh lettuce and herbs, but that's weirdly not our salad, even though salads also contain fresh lettuce and herbs, because our salad is cucumber and rice vinegar salad, which sounds delectable. Lots of lemon showing up here in this lemongrass chicken meal once again. Okay. Vietnamese. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Adara. Sounds good there. Very, very yummy.
Sound like a burger.
There, it does not sound like a burger and will not be the similar to a burger, unfortunately, but it should still be okay. Look, man, yeah, it's, we'll end. We always say we, but I'll just talk for myself right now quickly. I'm gonna end, if I get out right now, we'll be at the highest spot I've been at all day right now, P&L wise, and we want to thank Google for that. We do have one losing trade on board today, that's Tesla, but we were able to get out of that real quick right now, and we've made that all back if we were to exit our Google trade right here, but I still can't believe I'm not getting that 45. It just rent to 40s there. Here it is, 44, one more print, and we're out at 45, hopefully. And then that will signify out of, well, whatever, there it goes. Now out of half of this trade, so Google right now, we're at the highest P&L spot I've been, and that's chasing the longs really here at the end of the day, but it was the short that hit. And then Alibaba with a nice little reload down there as well. So far Google, nice move. Oh, there's Google now back into the dollar club. Now we're really starting to get spicy now, guys. Nice move higher on Google. Take another piece out. We're gonna go to the gym. It's gonna be a good one. We'll hit that pool again, and we'll come back and see where Google is. Hopefully up here, 367 and change. But it's Google running. Yes, let's go, man. There's a big trade alert for Google up to 390, 365. It's a big one there for GOOGL, $1.50 as we bring some energy back to this market that needs it right now. It needs a wake up. Give that little caffeine kick to the NASDAQ right now, down 1%.
Well, it definitely needs that caffeine kick, but it hasn't had a single green on the 15-minute. I'm back to crypto. And if we're going lower highs, we're going back into the short. Last Intel trade was flat. We took some out for profit, but then it ran the bottom. I don't want to fight it. I always look at it from every trade is about the risk to reward. Like, what are you giving it on the move and what are you trying to take? And if you're scalping 30, 40 cents in that kind of a range, then I'm giving it 30, 40 cents. I just don't want to be getting too much out in a range where if I'm getting it out here, you can't be giving it down in there. So I like the shot to try to get it into that 10 range, but if it can't go, it can't go, and we'll look for another opportunity over on INTC. That's been the one that just has not done what was expected. Apple doesn't surprise me too much, but I was looking at 305 on Apple, 305, 306 in the pre-market. I didn't think it was trending back into what looked like that 305, 306 level, and then just came absolutely nowhere close. And one last one for you is going to be Robinhood. I know it's past 11 o'clock, but Robinhood, all-day trend break. It's close. It hasn't happened yet, I've been pretty patient with the hooded one. It was a breakout over yesterday's highs, but I wasn't looking at this at the open. Now it can do the same thing with a potential all-day trend. I don't mind being short crypto, long Robinhood, because Robinhood has had the ability to kind of diverge from Bitcoin the last little bit. But not in it yet. We'll take our time because everything's about the risk to reward. We'll enjoy the lunch, although I guess it won't be quite as good as what it was yesterday. I feel like almost impossible to live up to this mythical burger that you guys had.
Yeah, it's not mythical at all.
It's mythical for me because I didn't get it.
Mythical for you, yeah, but it was a good one. All right, thanks everybody. It's 11:01 over to the midday show. We'll see you at 2 p.m.